Oh, you make me wanna talk back to you. Say it like that. If I hate you, then find someone new. Baby, but you know I never will. No, so I choke you down just like a pill. Say you're sorry. Oh, maybe I'll leave. Baby, but you know I never will. No, so I choke you down just like a pill.
I fell and lost.
Hello, welcome. Hello everyone, how are you doing today? Hopefully everyone's having a swell evening. Well, it is evening for me. So, hopefully everyone is having a swell time zone. Alright, let's see here. Already, I have everything pretty much set up. And, hopefully, we can continue on with, this real quick. Alright, we're currently on the stage. Make sure. Please, there we go. There we go. Sorry for background noise. But yeah, guess what? Big news. I added a fifth streaming platform to my collection. Which one? Let me hastily make up an ARG. I think ever noticed the cryptic message? The hint in that message is the blue heart. That's the only hint you'll get. And you know, you could probably tell I I use emojis to associate what kind of stream I'm doing. So if you think blue heart means there's something new adding to these streams, well, not to these streams, but to my overall uh overall content or media library. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked about it. Not sure if I wanna start making content next month, or maybe save up some money and wait until November. I I don't know what I can do for content on there, but one thing I know I can do is do a little bit of trolling. Do a little bit of trolling. Alright, alright. Because right now I have the multi-stream chat pulled up, and what was the other thing? So I have the multi-stream chat pulled up, and I should just shorten this down. Easier to fit. Easier to fit. There we go. Sorry, still trying to set this. I have other stream platform, and I'm trying to set this up with just having three technically three screens, but our tablet technically two making it 2.5 screens. But yeah. Anywho, I can get started on the line art here, and yeah.
This used to cost you this, but now this only buys you this. The dollar menu is dead. It's a thing of the past, but the killer or killers might just be you and me. Hello, Internet.
Welcome to
Food
Theory.
the show that provides quality theories at a fair price. I have to say, whenever I'm driving down the street nowadays and I see ads for Wendy's and McDonald's and their prices, I can't help but get nostalgic and think about the old days. The days when you could scrounge for quarters under the couch cushions and go to McDonald's and get yourself a burger and fries. The days that getting that didn't require a small bank loan. The days of the dollar menu. It's safe to say those days are long gone. But what actually happened to the famous dollar menu? Was it simply just a case of corporate greed? Is there something more at play here? And most importantly, though the dollar menu went the way of the dodo or my dignity, does that mean that the new and, well, I was gonna say improved, value menus don't really provide value at all? Even though McDonald's changed the industry with the dollar menu in 2002, they were actually pretty late to the game as far as value offerings in fast food places. Wendy's was actually the pioneer in the space with the super value menu, first introduced in 1989.
We call it Wendy's Super Value Menu. Everything is just 99 cents.
On this menu was the Biggie soft drink.
Wait, she is supposed to have clean hair. Sorry.
Chili, junior bacon cheeseburger, and a baked potato. Each one costing 99 cents. This was a huge hit at the time due to its affordability, particularly because of the cost of living crisis going on at the time.
Right now, I just do like full hair. I do want to add kind of like a witch hat.
A cheap meal meant there was one less thing to worry about. As you can imagine, it wasn't long before other fast food chains wanted in on the action. Places came up with different strategies that were similar to the super value menu. Taco Bell came out with the 59, 79, 99 cent menu in 1990. It had a large list of items within those price brackets, meaning you could walk out with a huge range of items from hard or soft tacos, nachos, burritos, and tostadas, and only spend $8. Seriously, I would give anything to go back to that time and get all the soft taco supremes I could afford. but I'm stuck with $3 a pop. Fast food chains through the 90s tried to combat things differently by simply lowering the prices of items on their regular menu, but that wasn't really working. So sure enough, chains like Burger King followed in the footsteps of Wendy's and Taco Bell, launching the 99-cent Great Taste menu in 1998. This menu offered items like a 5-piece nugget, bacon cheeseburger, onion rings, french fries, or a drink, all for 99 cents. The Golden Arches didn't cave until years later. In 2002, they released their version of the value menu, but they did something different. Rather than coming up with super catchy names like the Wendy's Super Value Menu or the 99-cent Great Taste menu, McDonald's simply called it the Dollar Menu because it said everything it needed to in 2 words. There's a menu and every item costs $1. The Dollar Menu offered similar to what other places were doing: fries, drinks, cheeseburger, but also offered the McChicken sandwich and apple pie, all for $1. And in this world, marketing is king, and McDonald's is the king of marketing. So the Dollar Menu became the gold standard.
Yeah, I remember the days where the dollar menu actually cost, well, $1, and now that just no longer exists.
Of value. The golden age of the Golden Arches ended in 2018 though, when McDonald's axed the Dollar Menu and instead rolled out the Value Menu, which had multiple items ranging from $1 to $3. Needless to say, people weren't happy and started asking questions. Mostly, what, why, and where can I buy cheap pitchforks? The what is Dollar Menu went bye-bye. The pitchforks, honestly, probably at Lowe's or something, I don't know. And the why comes down to 3 major reasons: inflation, boring, not corporate greed, gas, and finally, us, the customers. Beginning with the chain that started it all, we're gonna look back at the items originally on the Wendy's Super Value Menu and see how much it would cost us to get those items today. Looking at the most recent menu, and obviously this can vary depending on location, a junior bacon cheeseburger costs $2.99, a baked potato $2.69, nice, soft drink $2.69, nicer, a milkshake or frosty $2.59, fries $2.69, nicer still, and finally, chili now costs $3.19. Remember, all these items did cost 99 cents. So we're looking at a $1.60 to $2.20 increase in cost since the value menu first launched. In the 90s, $3 could get you fries, a burger, and a drink. Now, $3 gets you fries and 31 cents, which in this economy is getting you nothing. Because inflation causes prices to go up, over time, 99 cents has less of an effect on what you can buy. This is called purchasing power. Back in 1989, having 99 cents was good, but because of inflation, to have the same amount of purchasing power today, you would need to have $2.53. Now, when you look at the items originally on the value menu and what they cost at Wendy's today, it's not far off the $2.53 mark, is it? The Frosty Shake, fries, drink, and baked potato are all $2.69. Again, nice. Granted, the junior bacon cheeseburger and chili are a little bit more, but overall, you can see that Wendy's 99-cent items have simply increased to match inflation, not just to make more money. So while yes, the 99-cent menu is gone, in today's money, it still costs the equivalent of 99 cents. And when you look at Taco Bell's value menu, you'll see it's pretty much doing the same thing. So yeah, these basic items from Wendy's have clearly gone up in price a lot, but thanks to inflation, so has everything else. And because of inflation, businesses have to increase their prices so that they could still turn a profit. It's just basic business. But inflation is the boring answer, and not even that correct of an answer to begin with. Because, especially for McDonald's, the dollar menu was never about turning a profit. So while inflation definitely does factor in, it's not that big of a factor because Mickey D and the Funky Bunch don't mind losing money that way. Which leads us to my next point. For once, it's not corporate greed. It says here, pause for gasp. Are you gasping? Yeah, for once, it's not corporate greed. And I am choosing my words carefully there, because it's not McDonald's corporate that cared about ending the dollar menu or not. It was the franchisees. Seriously, McDonald's corporate does not give a flying fry whether the dollar menu is on the menu or not. We've covered this before, but TLDW, McDonald's makes the lion's share of their money from real estate, aka the rent they take from franchisees. If you actually break down the numbers, it can be deceiving. In 2014, for example, McDonald's made $9.2 billion from its franchise locations, and a whopping $18.2 billion from corporate-owned locations. Now, you might see this and be confused because only a third of the revenue comes from those franchise owners, except the devil is in the details, or in this case, the profit margins. McDonald's only retains 16% of the revenue made in corporate locations, but an insane remaining 82% from the franchises. Why? It costs a boatload more to actually run your own store than to just sit back and collect the moolah. And that revenue isn't just from rent, it is also from the food. But the way that relationship works between McDonald's corporate and the franchise owners is that McDonald's takes a cut from the top line sales, meaning the revenue something makes before accounting for its costs. Let's look at it this way. Assume a burger takes $3 for a location to produce, and that includes ingredients, labor costs, all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. The franchise owners have to set the prices to not only make those $3 back, but also make a profit so that they can pay themselves, have money stashed away for a rainy day to fix equipment and all that stuff, but also so that they can start getting a return on their initial investment, which for McDonald's locations can range from $1 to $2 million. But corporate comes in and says they get a percentage of that final price. If that burger ends up costing $5, McDonald's doesn't get a cut of the profit of that burger after the franchise owners take out the $3. They get a cut of the $5 themselves. So if a location were to set the price of that burger to $3, just enough to recoup all their costs, not only would they not make a profit, but they would actually lose money every sale. This ties back to the dollar menu because even if it's just from $1, McDonald's corporate makes money, especially on a scale of millions of customers daily. The franchise owners, though, lost a lot of money. To be fair, it wasn't just at McDonald's. Burger King franchisees actually sued the king back in 2009 when corporate introduced a $1 double cheeseburger promotion. It's actually a fascinating relationship because to corporate, so long as the locations are standing and people are walking in, they're making money. So offering promotions like a dollar menu or other things that keep people rushing through the door is a flat out win for them, even though that would come at a loss to franchise owners. Doesn't matter because to them, the goal is sheer numbers. The owners are the ones in the weeds, the ones that need to worry about how much each item will actually profit them. And this is where greed sets in because they want to make as much money as possible. So from minute one, they wanted the dollar menu to die. They fought McDonald's tooth and nail to make that happen, but we played our part in that too. Yeah, you heard me. You and me. We killed the dollar menu! Or, yeah, at least had our hand in it, even if it was inadvertently. See, the dollar menu, like so many other things that seem to save customers money, was originally a loss leader. An item that purposefully loses an establishment money, but gets people in the door and spending money on more profitable items. But the dollar menu backfired hard thanks to us. In a way, it was so successful that it failed, because people were able to make out with a full meal using it, and didn't feel compelled to buy the more profitable items. Customers ended up spending less money with each visit, about 3 cents less on average. I know that sounds like a ridiculously small amount, but remember, an average McDonald's location serves around 2,000 customers daily. That's $60 a day, or almost $22,000 a year. Across all stores, that would mean a loss of almost $300 million. It also didn't help that very popular items were on the dollar menu. You had double cheeseburgers, nuggets, drinks, and fries. All the greatest hits. It's no coincidence that when McDonald's officially axed the dollar menu in 2018 and reintroduced the revamped value menu, that fries were conveniently left off the list of items. Not only are fries the most popular item on the McDonald's menu, meaning they're a guaranteed customer buy, but they also have one of the highest profit margins. So, not selling them at full price is a pretty bonehead move from a business perspective. Yeah, you heard me. Boneheaded. Because it may have been awesome for us, the customers, but it was a really flawed execution from the jump. And the fact that it lasted over 15 years is nothing.
Hello.
And now all we can do is look
Hi,
back
Brover. How are
with
you?
value. But, and like me, there is a big old
Currently,
but here.
I'm
Was
drawing.
the dollar menu ever really that good to begin with?
How's
And
your day been?
value as we knew and loved it really gone forever? Well, to determine that, let's go back in time a bit and compare a dollar menu meal to the new value menu meal. Today, the limited edition McDouble meal deal costs around $5 depending on where you live and comes with a McDouble, 4 nuggets, small fries, and a small drink. This will be our baseline. Back in 2002, those 4 things would cost $4 off the dollar menu. But how much was each item normally? Luckily, there are pictures of the menu from back in 2001, which should help us get a pretty close estimate. Taking a look at this horrifically pixelated menu, we can make out the price of the small drink and small fries to be $1.19 and 99 cents respectively. From there, the comparisons get a bit trickier. See, the McDouble is essentially just a double cheeseburger, but with only 1 slice of cheese. The double cheeseburger was on the dollar menu and sold with Happy Meals, but not as as an individual item. So getting its regular
Yes,
price
the
had
McDonald's
been
food.
finagling. The closest regular item at the time would be the Big and Tasty, around a similar amount of beef with similar toppings that's sold for $1.49 or $1.69 with cheese. The nuggets are a similar tricky situation because the dollar menu was a 4-piece nugget, but the closest regular item was a 6-piece that sold for $2.29. Let's take this at face value and say that each nugget is worth about 38 cents based on that price. A regular 4-piece nugget would then cost about $1.53. In total, spending $4 on those 4 items would save you a whopping $1.40. Basically, you're saving almost 26% by going with the dollar menu version. Not bad at all. Now let's flash forward to today. Those $4 are now $5. But looking at my local McDonald's menu for the individual items, small fries cost $3.89, a small drink $2.19, 4-piece nuggets cost $3.49, and a McDouble costs $3.59, meaning the total cost of the meal is $13.10. Is that outrageous compared to the $5.40 it would have cost 23 years ago? 100%. But with the value meal priced at $5, you're actually saving about 62%. So as far as value goes, there's way more value in the offer being given now than back in the good old days, which were great, but maybe not as good as we remember. See, there's
Oval
a bit
head
of a
draw.
Mandela effect that's
Yeah,
happening.
oval head.
People remember going into McDonald's with a couple of quarters and making out like bandits with a drink.
Fun fact, if you want to make a character look younger, you have to make their head more circular. If you want to make their make them look older, you gotta make their face look a little bit more like an oval. You get what I'm saying?
Fries, a burger, and a 4th item, be it nuggets or a dessert. But that was never a thing. I mean, maybe it was in the 60s, but not on the dollar menu. A full meal, burger, fries, drink, and that 4th item, be it nuggets or a dessert, was $4. Don't get me wrong, still a great deal. But when you realize it barely saved you $1.50, suddenly it doesn't seem like such a steal. Whereas today, you're actually stealing from McDonald's with that McDouble meal deal. There's a reason why it's just a limited time item, because if it was a permanent fixture at those $5, the franchise
Like the
owners
whole
would essentially
character.
be paying you and corporate to be eating at their location. So the dollar menu
Well,
may
this
be
is just
long
art practice,
and
so
you'll never be able to buy a burger for $1.
it's not gonna look great,
Value may just be more
but
likely.
it is just
But
it is.
hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. Buen provecho. And speaking of fast food, I made Taco Bell's newest menu item with sorted food. Make sure to click the
'Cause right now I'm practicing just the general anatomy around just around my age. Here. All right, here we go.
The Federal Reserve finally.
There we go. Yeah. Oh, better if I do this way. Come on, please. Thank you. All right. I was going to post a video and then I found it was Hatsune Miku. Ah, it's Hatsune Miku edit.
Got interested in the credit card reward system. So interested that they mapped it in unprecedented detail. What they found is a vast network of 238 million American cards operating a predatory $15.1 billion redistribution system. 90% of all credit card spending now happens on rewards cards. You swipe your card for coffee, earn some cash back, and move on. But you're paying for someone else's benefits, and you're actually losing money. On the other hand, some cardholders gain each year from this system. How so? And no, this isn't about rich versus poor. The pattern holds across every income bracket. Banks, merchants, regulators, you, me, we're all part of a system where the rules aren't written down anywhere. So state regulators are starting to ask questions. Consumer groups are demanding answers. The credit card industry is
Okay.
spending millions on lobbying to prevent changes that could collapse their beloved business model. And banks are preparing for a regulatory earthquake that could reshape how Americans pay
Ooh,
for
okay.
everything. Here at Blackline, we help companies automate their finance and accounting processes. We're interested in how technology can improve people's finances. And I can tell you that the reward system has had its impact and that it needs to change.
What if I could find a hat, like a witch hat?
Credit card rewards began as a straightforward business solution that gradually evolved into something much more complex. In 1984, American Express was facing a problem. Their most valuable customers, business travelers spending thousands monthly, were switching to cheaper competitors. Amex needed a way to retain these high spenders without cutting their fees. Their solution was membership rewards, the first modern points program. Spend money, earn points, redeem for flights and hotels. Simple loyalty marketing for a premium customer base. For nearly a decade, this model worked exactly as intended. Rewards remained exclusive to affluent customers willing to pay annual fees of $100 or more. The economics were clean. Charge high fees, offer valuable perks, keep your best customers happy. Then, Discover disrupted everything in 1986 with the first mass-market cashback card. 1% back on all purchases.
There we go.
No annual fee, available to anyone with decent credit. They were essentially giving away money to attract customers from established banks. This forced every major player to respond. Chase launched rewards cards in 1994. Citibank added cashback options. Capital One introduced airline miles programs. What looked like healthy competition was actually creating the foundation for today's problems. The real transformation happened in the 2000s when technology changed how banks understood their customers. Credit scoring algorithms became sophisticated enough to predict not just who would default, but who would carry balances, who would pay in full monthly, and crucially, who would be profitable over time. This predictive capability allowed banks to do something revolutionary: offer the same product to different people while knowing with near certainty which customers would make them money
line
and
art.
which would lose them money. The 2008 financial crisis accelerated this divide by creating two distinct consumer behaviors. One group became hyper-focused on financial optimization, learning to maximize rewards while avoiding all fees and interest charges. They turned credit cards into profit extraction tools. The other group, facing economic pressure, started using credit cards for necessities rather than convenience. They carried balances, paid interest, and unknowingly became the funding source for everyone else's rewards. Banks noticed this split and designed their products accordingly. Premium cards for the optimizers. High annual fees, but generous rewards for people who would never pay interest.
Oh, and that crack in the hat.
For everyone else. Modest rewards, but profitable when balances were carried. By 2010, the cross-subsidy model was fully operational. Banks could afford to lose money on customers who maximized rewards because those losses were covered by profits from customers who paid interest. This was simply how economics had to work. To offer meaningful rewards, banks needed revenue.
The biggest
revenue came from interchange fees and interest payments. The customers generating the most revenue naturally subsidized the customers.
Yeah, I could put on cadence since
corporate adoption.
𝙂𝙗 Sink Cave Incident. 𝙂𝙗 Sink is an underwater...
Alright. Here we go. Here we go.
𝙂𝙤 Sink Cave Incident. 𝙂𝙤 Sink is an underwater cave system in Florida that is very dangerous to dive in. In July 1992, two experienced divers came to explore this underwater cave. July is the worst time to dive because algae blooms make the water very murky. The algae turned the water green like paint and
Alright.
made it impossible to see. Smart divers know to never dive when algae blooms happen, but these two divers had driven a long way and didn't want to turn back. They decided to dive even though the water conditions were extremely dangerous. The divers entered the murky green water and started going down into the cave. Their lights could only shine a few inches through the thick algae. In underwater caves, divers must follow a guideline rope to stay safe. The guideline is like a trail that leads back to the surface. Without the guideline, divers can get lost and die in the underwater maze. Because they couldn't see well, the divers missed the main cave entrance. They accidentally went into a wrong passage that led nowhere. When they realized their mistake, they decided to turn around and go back. One diver was following behind his partner as they tried to exit the cave. The thick algae made it impossible to see each other even when close. The buddy could sometimes see his partner's light, but then it would disappear. As they swam back toward the entrance, something went terribly wrong. In the murky water, the two divers got separated without knowing it. The buddy couldn't see his partner's light anymore, but kept swimming out. He followed the guideline back to the surface like he was supposed to. When the buddy reached the surface, he expected to see his partner waiting, but his partner was nowhere to be found at the surface. The buddy called out but got no answer from his missing partner. Fear filled the buddy as he realized something was very wrong. He went back into the cave several times to search for his partner, but the thick algae made searching almost impossible. The buddy couldn't see anything in the green, murky water. After many failed search attempts, he called emergency rescue services. Professional rescue divers arrived quickly knowing time was running out. Even the experienced rescue team said it was the worst visibility they had ever seen. The rescue divers searched every tunnel and passage they could find. They even tried pumping fresh water into the cave to clear the algae, but the water was too thick with algae to improve visibility. For 3 long days, rescue teams searched the underwater cave system. Family members waited at the surface hoping for good news. On the 3rd day, the rescue team found the missing diver's body. He was deep in the cave system in a passage that was hard to find. 𝙂𝙤 Cave Incident. On August 15, 1992, Gant and his friend went diving at 𝙂𝙤 Cave in Tennessee. 𝙂𝙤 Cave was underwater and protected by law because endangered bats lived there. A chain-link fence blocked the entrance to keep people out, but Gant and his friend wanted to find huge catfish that lived in the cave. Local fishermen told stories about catfish that were 6 to 8 feet long. The two divers were not trained for cave diving, but they entered illegally anyway. They swam under the fence and into the dark underwater cave. Cave diving is very dangerous because you can't swim straight up to escape. The water inside the cave was murky and cold. They swam deeper into the cave looking for the giant catfish. About 1,200 feet into the cave, Gant accidentally kicked the muddy bottom. A huge cloud of dirt and mud filled the water around them. The water became so murky they couldn't see anything at all. Gant tried to stay calm and wait for the dirt to settle, but his friend panicked and started moving around wildly. The friend's movements made the muddy water even worse. In all the confusion, the two divers got separated in the dark water. Gant's friend tried to find him, but couldn't see anything. The friend managed to swim back to the entrance and got out safely. He immediately called for help because Gant was lost inside the cave. Meanwhile, Gant was trapped alone in the underwater cave system. He was completely lost and running out of air to breathe. Every tunnel looked the same in the murky water. Gant didn't know which way led back to the entrance. His air gauge showed he was almost out of breathing air. Just when things looked hopeless, Gant found a small air pocket. The cave ceiling had a tiny space with air that was only 8 inches high. Gant grabbed onto a rock formation called a stalactite. He kept his head in the small airspace so he could breathe. His body stayed underwater, but his head was above the surface.
No, don't eat my drawing. No, not my drawing. I worked so hard on it.
They opened the dam spillway to let water flow out. The lake dropped 3 feet, which created more airspace in the cave. As the water went down, Gant's tiny air pocket got bigger. He could move his head more and had more room to breathe. But Gant had been in the cold water for 16 hours by this time. He was very weak, cold, and sick from the long ordeal. Finally, rescue divers were able to reach Gant in the cave. They found him still holding onto the stalactite formation. Gant was weak and sick, but still alive after 16 hours. The rescuers helped him swim back to the cave entrance. When Gant came out of the cave, he needed medical help right away. His body temperature was dangerously low from the cold water. 𝙂𝙤 Cave Incident. On April 11, 1981, 3 friends went to explore 𝙂𝙤 Cave in Tennessee. John McReynolds was 16, Bon Funnel was 19, and Greg Rogers was 15. They only had had 2 flashlights and were not experienced cave explorers. Only John had been in caves before, but he had never been to this cave. The 3 friends entered the cave and walked deeper underground. They climbed over rocks and squeezed through narrow spaces. They had to cross a dangerous narrow path over a deep pit. The path was slippery and muddy with few places to hold on. After exploring
Drinks all the
30
cave
minutes, they
water.
decided to go back. They came back to the
Well,
same
you're
dangerous
dying
path
of
they had crossed before.
water
This time they had to climb
toxicity.
up instead of down. John went first with
It
his
is a thing,
flashlight to
though.
lead the way. After climbing
Water toxicity is a thing, though. Like, if you drink too much water in a short time span, you can actually die of what scientifically called water toxicity.
20 feet, John's foot slipped on the wet rocks. He lost his balance and fell into the darkness. His flashlight fell and spun around, sending light everywhere. John screamed as he fell 20 feet down into a pool of water. His friends watched in horror and couldn't help him. John splashed into the cold water and tried to swim. His arm was hurt from the fall and he couldn't swim well. Bon and Greg reached down trying to help but couldn't reach him. John got tired and started to sink under the water. The 2 friends shouted for help as loud as they could. Another group of cavers heard their calls for help. John Walker was leading the other group and rushed to help. John Walker dove into the water to search for John McReynolds. The water was dark
I want
and
to add
Walker
something
could
real
barely
quick.
see anything. Walker found John's body underwater and pulled him to the side. John was not breathing and had passed out. The rescuers cleared water from John's mouth and gave him CPR. John coughed up water and started breathing again. He opened his eyes, but his words didn't make sense. John had a head injury and passed out again. Someone called the fire department for emergency help. Cave rescue experts came to help get John out. They put a harness on John to lift him up safely. It took until midnight to get John out of the cave. John was very cold and badly hurt. They rushed him to the hospital in an ambulance. John stayed in the hospital for many days. Doctors found he had serious head injuries and cuts all over his body. John eventually got better and made a full recovery. 𝙭𝙬 𝘼𝙀 Cave Incident. On March 9th, 2003, a group of tourists went to 𝙭𝙬 𝘼𝙀 in Guerrero, Mexico. The group was poorly equipped visitors led by a local guide. The guide knew the cave passages but lacked safety training and equipment. The entrance to the cave was a steep canyon that dropped into darkness. The upper entrance required climbers to go down a dangerous slope of loose rock. Every step had to be carefully placed. Every handhold had to be tested before trusting it. Maria Santos was excited about the adventure ahead. She had come to Mexico for vacation, seeking thrills and experiences. Maria was partway down the entrance canyon. She carefully placed her feet on narrow ledges. She tested each handhold before putting her weight on it. The rock felt solid under her fingers. Above her, another tourist made a movement. A rock broke free from the formation above. The stone moved toward Maria like a bullet. It was just a few pounds of limestone that had been wedged in place for decades. The stone struck her in the head with a tremendous force. The impact was devastating. The blow to her head caused immediate trauma. It also made her lose her grip on the slope. Her hands released their hold on the rock face. Her feet lost their grip on the narrow ledges. In an instant, she went from being a controlled climber to a falling object. Maria's body struck the rocky slope repeatedly as she tumbled toward the darkness below. Each impact added new injuries to the massive head trauma. The other tourists watched in horror as Maria disappeared into the darkness. Then there was silence. The guide now faced every tour leader's worst nightmare. The group's first instinct was to climb down after her, but the guide stopped them. The guide immediately called rescuers. When rescuers finally reached Maria's body, they confirmed what everyone knew. The combination of the head trauma and the fall had been fatal. Maria had probably died instantly. The injuries were so severe that survival would have been impossible. The body recovery was a complex operation. The rescuers had to package the body carefully as they had to lift it up the dangerous slope without causing more rock falls. The recovery took hours to complete. When Maria's body was finally brought to the surface, the full horror became clear. What had started as a fun tourist trip had ended in a preventable death. Arnold Hollow Cave Incident. On May 5th, 1997, 4 explorers prepared to explore Arnold Hollow Cave. Dell Lancaster, her sister Diane, family friend Phyllis Nelson, and John Nelson entered the cave at 9 a.m.
eating
John
my
had been excited about
art.
this trip for weeks. Deep inside his cave, about 400
No.
yards from the entrance, was a tight passage. Beyond that narrow crawl, John believed there was a magnificent room that no human had ever seen. As they approached the tight spot, the passage narrowed until it became a crawl space. Dell went first, Diane followed, then Phyllis. Each woman worked her way through the tight space. John Nelson stood at the entrance to the crawl, studying the opening. John found the tight space particularly challenging because of his size. Today, he had a different plan. Instead of forcing himself through the narrow opening, John decided to make some changes. He wanted to enlarge the crawl space to make passage easier. John began working with his tools. He chipped away at the ceiling and hammered on some loose rocks. Each strike seemed to bring him closer to creating a more manageable passage. Then everything went wrong in an instant. The hammering had loosened more more rock than John realized. The cave's delicate balance
All right.
suddenly shifted. A deep rumble filled the air,
I need
followed
to
by the
search
sound
for
of falling
outfits.
stone. Rocks tumbled down, filling the passage with debris and blocking the opening completely. The three women on the other side of the collapse found themselves trapped underground. One moment they were waiting in the larger room, and the next they had no way out. On the other side of the collapse, John Nelson stared at the blocked passage in horror. 3 people were trapped because of his actions. For the next hour, John worked frantically to clear the blockage, but the pile of rock remained unmoved. The passage was completely sealed. Finally, John accepted that he couldn't handle this alone. He needed help fast. John made his way out of the cave as quickly as possible. The moment John emerged from the cave, he began making emergency calls. Local rescue services responded immediately. The rescue team examined the collapse area. They found that the collapse had created a small gap that allowed communication with the trapped women. The women trapped beyond the collapse were in a cramped space. Dell, Diane, and Phyllis were squeezed into a space barely large enough for 3 people. They had to remain pressed against each other. They couldn't sit or lie down comfortably. The rescue team decided not to clear the collapse until they had properly supported the passage. Moving rocks without proper support could cause the entire area to collapse further. Through the small gap
Okay, this
in
actually
debris,
looks good.
rescuers passed essential supplies to the women: food,
I'll base it off
water,
of
and warm
this.
clothing. These supplies helped prevent hypothermia and maintain the women's strength. The mine workers joined the rescue team in installing proper support in the passage. The rescue team worked steadily.
Oh, what the
As
fuck?
evening
Oh my
approached, the
fucking
rescue team felt
god.
confident enough to begin moving rocks. With the passage properly supported, they
Alright,
started clearing
Alpaca, what the
collapse. As the
fuck?
clock approached 8:30 p.m., more than 11 hours after the collapse, the rescue team finally broke through.
Motherfucker.
The passage was open again, creating a route to freedom. Dell, Diane, and Phyllis emerged from the cave in remarkably good spirits. Lava Tube Cave Incident. On April 24th, 2001, Margaret Chen was walking with her 2 golden retriever puppies on the Big Island of Hawaii. The puppies were named Max and Luna and were 6 months old. Margaret had walked this path many times before. The area had lava tubes, underground tunnels formed by old lava flows. The puppies were playing and running around. As they reached the halfway point of their walk, the puppies suddenly ran away. There was no warning. One moment they were walking beside her, the next they were racing
Alright, there
away.
we go.
Margaret called after them, but they disappeared behind a ridge of volcanic rock. At first, Margaret wasn't
Oh,
worried
that
because
crack.
the puppies often wandered off for a few minutes. But as she followed their path and called their names, she couldn't find them. Minutes turned into an hour. Margaret's calling became more urgent. She climbed over rock formations she'd never explored before. As darkness began to fall, real fear crept into her heart. She had only a small flashlight. Then she heard faint whimpering coming from below, somewhere beneath her.
Also, the outfit, that outfit here, right here, the entire color scheme kind of looks like the Omnitrix emblem from Ben 10.
Feet. Margaret followed the sound, moving carefully across the uneven surface. The whimpering led her to a section with holes and pits. Margaret moved from hole to hole, calling down into the darkness. One hole was different. When she called into it, her voice echoed strangely. She aimed her flashlight down into the opening. About 15 feet down, she could see 2 small golden shapes huddled together on a ledge. Max and Luna were alive, but they were trapped. The lava tube opening was only about 2 feet wide, too narrow for Margaret to fit through. They were scared and unable to climb back up the smooth walls. Margaret's heart broke as she looked down at them. She called 911, but her cell phone had no signal. She tried lowering her belt down to them, but it wasn't long enough. Margaret refused to leave them. She lay on her stomach next to the opening, talking to them in soothing tones. Margaret made a decision that would...
You know, why wasn't her dogs leashed? If you notice, the landscape has fucking lava tube holes everywhere. What? Oh, fucking hell. Honestly, lady, I'm sorry about your dogs, but this is your fault.
Cost her everything. She positioned herself over the opening, feet first, and began to lower herself down. The walls were smoother than they looked, and the opening was narrower than she estimated. Margaret slipped and fell headfirst into the lava tube. Margaret became wedged in the tube upside down. Her waist and upper body were pinned by the narrow walls. She was now close enough to touch her puppies, but she couldn't help them. She couldn't help herself. Hours passed, and Margaret's calls for help grew weaker. The next morning, a few hikers found them and called for help. Margaret was barely conscious. The rescue team arrived quickly. Her face was dark red from blood pooling in her head. She could barely speak. Being trapped upside down was slowly killing her. The blood pooling in her head was putting pressure on her brain and heart. Hours passed as they worked desperately to free her, but Margaret's body was shutting down. Margaret touched the puppy's noses one last time. She kept saying, "Take care of my dogs." The rescue workers never stopped trying, but Margaret's body couldn't survive being trapped upside down for so long. Margaret died trying to save her puppies. The rescue workers eventually retrieved her body and the 2 puppies.
Right.
Smith's crack cave incident. On the morning of June 17th, 2000.
Oh, fuck my eyes. Bitch. Okay, there we go. Alright. Let me grab my phone. There we go. What time is it? Alright.
2004, Steve Allburn and a group of friends
How am I
set
gonna
out
do
for an
this?
adventure in Smith's Crack Cave in Idaho. They hiked through the forest to reach the cave entrance. Steve was a big man at 6 feet 2 inches and 250 pounds. As they went into the cave, Steve easily slid down a narrow slot into a lower passage.
Ben 10K.
Gravity helped pull him through on the way down. They explored the cave for hours and finally decided to go back. The same narrow slot that had been easy to go down now trapped Steve by his chest. With gravity no longer helping, every inch upward felt like a battle. His large frame was wedged tight against the jagged rock walls. His chest was completely stuck, pinned tightly between the sharp walls of the cave. His lungs had little room to expand. His ribs felt like they were slowly being crushed. Each attempted movement only made the pressure worse. Sharp jolts of pain shot through his body. Steve's face was pressed painfully against the cold, jagged rock. His breathing became difficult. To make matters worse, Steve's legs were stuck in a horizontal position within the narrow passage. This left his body twisted in a way no human body should bend. His friends tried to pull him free, but gravity was no longer on his side. Every attempt only caused more pain. Hours passed and hope began to fade. The group finally called for help. Rescue crews arrived and tried repeatedly to free Steve, but nothing worked. His body was wedged too tightly. Finally, in a moment of desperation, someone suggested using vegetable shortening to grease him up. With no better options, rescuers grabbed coveralls and coated them with Crisco. The rescuers prepared themselves for the effort. They started to pull from above while his friend behind kept pushing. Steve, wearing the greasy suit, started to slide upward. Every movement sent sharp, searing pain through his ribs and spine, but he had to keep going. Slowly, painfully, the grease began to do its job. Inch by inch, the walls began to release their grip on his body. Steve's arms were grabbed by those pulling from above. With each tug, he screamed.
What happened? I saw it outside. You saw what outside your window? You saw me? You saw me staring at you outside your window? You told me that I wouldn't be able to find you, but I found you anyways. You can't hide from me. You can't hide from me. You can't hide from me. Anywho. Nosy. Boop. I boop your nose.
Screamed in pain as the rough stone scraped against his skin. Steve's body finally started to come free completely. After nearly 10 hours of pain, Steve emerged from the cave. He was battered, bruised, and shaken, but alive. 𝙂𝙚 Cave Incident. On November 1st, 2020, a diving accident happened at Lake McDonald in Glacier National Park. Linnea Mills was part of a group of divers that included instructor Debbie Snow, trainee Bob Gentry, and a 14-year-old known as 𝙂𝙚. They were set to dive into Lake McDonald to practice high-altitude and cold water diving skills. Linnea had bought a second-hand dry suit. A dry suit is essential gear meant to keep divers warm by trapping air between the body and cold water. Unfortunately, her suit was missing a crucial part, the inflator hose. Without it, Linnea wouldn't be able to add air to her suit as she went down. This would cause the suit to squeeze tightly due to water pressure. Neither Linnea nor her instructors realized the missing equipment during pre-dive checks. The instructors skipped proper gear checks and a pre-dive briefing. Linnea was also carrying 44 pounds of lead weights in her dry suit and buoyancy control device pockets. When they entered the water, Linnea began struggling almost immediately. The cold water squeezed the air out of her suit, making it difficult to move and breathe. As the group went deeper, the situation got worse. She couldn't control her buoyancy properly. The pressure of the water made it even harder for her to breathe. At one point, she signaled for help, but her instructor didn't notice. A fellow diver, Bob Gentry, saw her sinking out of control. Gentry tried to catch up to her, reaching her at a depth of 26 6 meters. He could see she was in severe trouble. In the struggle, she lost her regulator, her main source of air. Gentry tried to share his air with her, but they were running out fast. At a depth of 32 meters, Gentry faced a life-or-death decision. He had to abandon his efforts and return to the surface or risk dying himself. Gentry made a rapid ascent, surfacing in less than a minute. This was a dangerous move that put him at risk for decompression sickness. Meanwhile, at the surface, Snow and Liston were still unaware of the life-threatening situation below. When Gentry finally emerged, he frantically alerted Snow to the emergency, but by this time, the fading light and cold temperatures made the search even more difficult. Eventually, Linnea's lifeless body was found at a depth of 39 meters. After her death, Linnea's family filed a $12 million negligence lawsuit. The lawsuit was against the dive school, its instructors, and PADI Worldwide. Sweet Potato Cave Incident. In Kentucky, a group of scouts gathered for a caving expedition at Sweet Potato Cave. Among the scouts was 14-year-old Jessie Gott. The scouts were equipped with helmets and headlamps. Together, the group made their way into the cave. All seemed well until the group came across a narrow crevice. The crevice looked interesting to Jesse. It looked like a tight squeeze, but he was determined to explore it. Ignoring the cautious warnings, Jesse slipped into the crevice. He hoped to find something extraordinary on the other side. However, the thrill quickly turned to dread when he realized he was stuck. Jesse was wedged tight up to his chest with no way to move his body out. Jesse had never been in a situation where his body wouldn't do what he wanted. Andrew Duncan, one of the scout leaders, quickly looked at the situation. The scouts were now stunned into silence. One by one, they gathered around Jesse, saying words of encouragement. With each minute that passed, the situation became harder to ignore. His chest felt tight, not just from the physical pressure, but from fear. His fingers, numb from the cold, twitched without his control. Every second felt like a struggle. His body temperature was dropping. He was getting hypothermia. This made things worse. While Andrew and 2 other scouts stayed with Jesse, one scout ran back to the cave entrance to get help. The call for help reached the local firefighters and rescue squad. They arrived at the scene with specialized tools and determination to free the young scout. They knew they had to act quickly. Every minute mattered. Once inside the cave, the rescuers approached the narrow crevice where Jesse was trapped. They realized that Jesse needed treatment for his injuries and also for hypothermia. Immediately, they wrapped blankets and heating pads around him. Using shovels and crowbars, they began to make the opening bigger. After hours of hard work, the rescuers finally made progress. The opening was widened enough for Jesse to be pulled free. With everyone working together, they moved him out of the crack around 3 p.m. Jesse was finally free. Once out, he was taken to a local hospital for evaluation. The medical team quickly checked his condition. Thankfully, Jesse's ordeal had only resulted in mild hypothermia. Sotano Cave Incident. On July 10th, 2005, 5 friends went camping in San Luis
No.
Potosí, Mexico.
Don't even
Miguel
call it
was the leader
bigger.
of the group. The other friends were
No. I need
Carlos,
that.
Alejandro, 𝙂𝙚, and Daniel. None of them had ever been in a cave before. They did not bring any proper caving equipment. They had no helmets and no good flashlights. What they did bring was lots of beer, tequila, and a speaker for music. They wanted to have an underground party inside the Sotano cave. They entered the cave in the afternoon. The friends started drinking beer right away. That night, there was a party inside the cave. The 5 friends drank a lot of alcohol at the party. They went deeper into the cave than they were supposed to. They ignored the "do not enter" signs. Around midnight, it started raining very hard. Miguel wanted to go back to their campsite to get more beer. His friends were worried because Miguel had drunk too much alcohol. Alejandro decided to go with Miguel to help him. Miguel walked ahead and Alejandro followed behind him. The rain was getting harder and the ground was very slippery. Miguel got confused and walked off the safe path. He could not see where he was going in the dark. Miguel thought he saw solid ground ahead. He stepped forward confidently, but there was no ground there, only a deep hole. Miguel fell into the pit. Miguel screamed as he fell down the deep pit. He fell 79 feet, then slid down a slope, then fell another 62 feet. Miguel hit the rocks very hard and died instantly. Alejandro called out, but got no answer. He was very scared and ran back to the party. He told others what happened. Carlos called the police. 𝙂𝙚 and Daniel ran out to look for Miguel. The rescue team arrived at dawn when the rain stopped. The 4 friends showed the rescuers where Miguel had fallen. The rescuers had proper safety equipment and ropes. They went down into the deep cave safely. At the bottom, they found Miguel's body. Miguel had died from hitting his head on the rocks. The rescuers brought Miguel's body back up. After this accident, the authorities put up warning signs. They banned underground parties in the caves. Vancouver Cave Incident. In 2010, 3 high school students decided to explore a cave in Vancouver. Their names were Alex, Rachel, and Jack. They had heard about a beautiful chamber inside the cave that sparkled in the light. Alex was the most experienced caver of the 3. Jack had never been in a cave before. This was Jack's first caving adventure. The 3 friends put on their their headlamps and entered the cave. They crawled through narrow passages that were easy to navigate. The air smelled like damp earth and they could hear water dripping. The cave floor was muddy in some places. Alex knew the cave layout better than his friends. He usually led the way while Rachel and Jack followed. They climbed up a steep slope to reach a narrow spot. This narrow spot was called the squeeze penetration. From there, the cave split into two paths. One path led to a big room. The other path was even smaller and led to unknown areas. Alex told his friends to be careful because the passage was very tight. Alex should have gone first since he was the most experienced. But for some reason, he decided to go last. Rachel was small and slim, so she went first. She made it through the tight passage easily. Jack went second. He had to breathe hard to squeeze through, but he made it. Alex was the tallest at over 6 feet tall. He followed behind Rachel and Jack. Rachel and Jack kept moving toward the chamber. They thought Alex was right behind them. Alex tried to squeeze through the narrow passage. As it got tighter, Alex started to panic. In his confusion, Alex took the wrong path. He went into the passage that led to unknown territory. This passage was even narrower than the other one. Alex pushed forward but got completely stuck. He could not move forward or backward. The cave walls pressed against his body from all sides. Rachel and Jack reached the beautiful, sparkling chamber. They were amazed by what they saw. At first, they did not notice that Alex was missing. When they turned to leave, they realized Alex was not with them. Rachel's heart sank when she realized Alex was gone. She quickly went back to look for him. Jack was very scared because this was his first time caving. As they crawled back, they could hear Alex calling for help. They found Alex stuck in the wrong passage. Rachel held Alex's legs and tried to comfort him. Rachel told Jack to go get help. Jack ran through the cave as fast as he could. The rescue team arrived after a few hours. They looked at the situation and started working to free Alex. They used drills, hooks, and ropes to try to pull him out. Alex was getting weaker as time passed. He had been stuck for many hours. It was hard for him to breathe in the tight space. The air quality was poor in that part of the cave. After 4 hours of rescue work, the team finally freed Alex. The rescue team carried Alex out of the cave quickly, but Alex was too weak and did not survive. Hermit's Cave Incident. On April 5th, 1999, 3 friends went camping near Hermit's Cave in Oklahoma. Robert Kennedy was 21 years old and from Mogi, Oklahoma. His stepbrother Richard Steeler Jr. was with him. Their friend Ben Keegley from Tulsa was also supposed to come. Robert had heard rumors about secret side passages. People said these passages led to hidden parts of the cave. Robert had never been caving before. They brought just one flashlight and no helmets. Ben had to work early the next day, so he could not come. The safe rule for caving is to always have 3 people. If one person gets in trouble, another stays while the third gets help. But Robert and Richard decided to go anyway. They entered the wide cave entrance easily. They crawled through the main passage. The cave was slippery, damp, and cold. On their way back, Robert saw one of the side passages. This passage was about 150 feet long. It had many twists and turns that were hard to navigate. Robert reached a dangerous section called the keyhole formation. Robert squeezed through the keyhole head first. But Robert did not know that going head first was wrong. Experts always say to go feet first in unknown caves. This way you can back out if there is trouble. Robert did not know the passage ahead got much narrower. He tried to squeeze through by breathing out all his air. Robert realized he could not go forward, but his body was already stuck tight between the rocks. Gravity was pulling him down toward the muddy floor. His face was pointing down toward the wet mud. Robert started to panic and called for Richard's help. Richard came to help but could not reach Robert. Richard saw that Robert was stuck very badly. The only thing Richard could do was go get help. After about an hour, 3 rescue workers came to the cave. The rescue was very difficult for several reasons. Only one rescuer could reach Robert at a time. The air quality was poor deep in the cave. The rescuers tried to make the keyhole bigger with hand tools. Finally, a rescuer reached Robert's feet. Robert was not responding. The rescuers tried to pull Robert out by his feet, but they could not get enough leverage to pull him. The only choice was to dig around Robert's body. It took over an hour to finally move Robert's body. They brought him back to the cave entrance. Paramedics were waiting to help Robert, but it was too late. Robert had died.
Rip Robert. Takes out a job application. No! Get that away from me! No! I don't want a job application! Oh, someone uploaded a remix of Daisy Bell with Cassidy Tento. Alright. How do we do this?
What if Darth Vader cloned Anakin in Revenge of the Sith? What if Darth Vader
True. Job now. Fill the job vacation. Alright. Alright, see you later. What kind of job do you want? Wink wink. I had to chat. Oh, that crack. Ooh, fucking hell. Alright.
What if Darth Vader cloned Anakin? In Revenge of the Sith, we witnessed Anakin's surgery and how by the end he was placed into his new suit. As the newly appointed Darth Vader, he was nothing more than Palpatine's pet as he served him for the next 20 years, hunting Jedi and doing all his dirty work. But what if things were different? What if Vader went behind Palpatine's back and cloned himself as Anakin Skywalker? How different would things have been if this worked and the two fought side by side? Well, in this alternate timeline, that's exactly what we'll be diving into, so let's get right into it. Our story begins just weeks after the events of Revenge of the Sith, as Vader stood within the depths of his castle, meditating in his bacta tank. Over these past weeks, Vader was still adjusting to his new life, and more importantly, his new suit. For every minute that he was awake, his injury still brought him agonizing pain, so meditating in his bacta tank allowed him to be free in a way. It brought him peace, it allowed him to be calm, and most of all, it was rejuvenating. However, there was one issue. While he was in his tank, he was left with nothing but his thoughts. Each second that he closed his eyes, all he could think about was what happened that night on Mustafar. He thought about the duel, he thought about his defeat to Obi-Wan, and most of all, he thought about the last time he saw the love of his life, Padme. Each of these memories haunted him, and it made him swell with rage. If only Obi-Wan didn't show up, if only Palpatine didn't send him there in the first place, or if only Padme just listened, then... Vader paused. He then looked down at his missing limbs. As he did, he thought to himself, no, he was worth more than this. He was worth more than to just be this robotic machine. He was worth more than to just be Palpatine's puppet. He was Darth Vader. He was destined for more than this. He was destined for greatness. He couldn't just sit here and be trapped for the rest of his life like this. He just couldn't. He wanted more, and there had to be a way to achieve that. So, Vader closed his eyes once again and went deep in thought. His mind quickly raced. He thought to himself, what if he upgraded his suit? No, he couldn't do that. That would be too risky. A failed surgery could put his entire life at risk. Plus, he would also have to spend time recruiting the right doctors for that. What else could he do? Vader concentrated deep within the Force. Then it hit him. Cloning. Vader could clone himself. If all worked well, then he could clone himself as Anakin Skywalker, and he could truly be the man he was destined to be had he not been injured. He wouldn't be held back by his suit, but instead he'd carry brute force and unlimited power all through this
And
clone.
that crackle.
Vader cracked a smile. He loved this idea. If this truly worked in his favor, then he and his clone could overthrow the
Welcome
Empire
back.
together, and in time, he would be pronounced as the new emperor. With that, the galaxy would belong to him. He would become stronger. He would rule over everyone. And maybe, just maybe, he could even find the resources
Yeah,
to
how am I
find a way
gonna-
to resurrect Padme from her grave. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's...
Vader loved the sound of that. He felt alive, motivated, the best he's felt in weeks. He had a purpose now, and nothing was gonna stop him. So without hesitation, Vader looked at the guards that were standing by his tank and said,
Guards, get me my suit and prepare my shuttle. We leave for Kamino at once.
Ooh.
Eventually, Vader arrived on the planet of Kamino, where it was there he would try to bring his plan to life. The Kaminoans were known to be some of the best cloners in the galaxy, and so Vader was convinced that they'd have all the resources needed for a project like this. So, as Vader arrived at the capital, he went straight to speak with the Prime Minister there, Lama Su. However, as the Dark Lord walked through the halls of Tipoca City, many of the clone troopers there looked at Vader head to toe. Although he had already made his first public appearance over a week ago, seeing him up close was a different story. His towering height, his loud breathing, his presence, everything. It was spine-chilling. Although they all paid their respects, a lot of the clones couldn't help but feel cold inside. Their new master was terrifying. However, as Vader made his way through the halls, he eventually reached the Prime Minister's office, where it was there the two spoke.
Lord Vader, what an honor it is to be visited by one of the Empire's finest. How can we be of service?
I'm here to request your cloning services, Prime Minister. One that is a replication of myself.
You wish to clone yourself? Well, that can certainly be arranged, my lord. How many units will you be needing?
1 unit.
Only one? Well, that is very fascinating. May I ask what this is for?
I did not come here to be interrogated, Prime Minister. From my understanding, the Kaminoans have a high reputation. It would be most unfortunate if that is not the case.
My apologies, my lord. I was inquiring purely out of curiosity. Very well. In order to proceed, we will need to evaluate your blood to ensure that your type can be approved. From there, we can get to work right away.
As you wish, Prime Minister. However, this visit is not to be documented or remain on file. My visit here to Camino is not one under any imperial request. Rather one authorized by myself.
I understand. Then we will ensure that this remains private, my lord. Anything else?
Yes, just like your standard clones, I request for this one to have accelerated aging as well.
Although Vader had never gone through the cloning process before, he knew that if he were to truly overthrow the Emperor, he couldn't wait for too long. This clone of himself had to have accelerated aging.
Very well. That will be no issue. Shall we proceed?
Vader nodded, and as he did, a Kaminoan doctor entered the room. From there, he took a sample of Vader's blood and placed it into a small glass vial. As Vader's blood was being sampled, the results quickly came up on the screen, but 𝙂𝙗 was shocked. He was stunned.
Lord Vader, while your blood is safe to continue with, your M count is unlike anything I've ever seen before.
Is that a problem?
Well, it shouldn't be, no. But to replicate an M count of that high is almost near to impossible. While the cloning itself should be successful, I cannot guarantee the clone's M count will be as high as yours.
Vader clenched his fist. As he did, he choked the Prime Minister without hesitation.
I did not visit your planet for you to grovel, Prime Minister. I demand results, not excuses.
Okay. They have a solution.
Vader let go. As he did, 𝙂𝙗 gasped for air.
One of our doctors, 𝙂𝙗𝙣𝙚, has a very close bond with one of our enhanced female clones named Omega. Unlike the standard clones, she has a positive M count that should work perfectly for your project. It won't be easy, but I will ensure that her blood is provided.
Good. I look forward to seeing your work, Prime Minister. It would be most unfortunate if we need to have a conversation like this again.
𝙂𝙗 nodded, and from there, Vader stormed off. With that, the Kaminoans got to work immediately to create the clone of Darth Vader. Over the next week, Vader continued his work in hunting Jedi when eventually he was informed that his clone was finally ready. Anakin Skywalker was reborn and the cloning process was complete. According to 𝙂𝙗, the transfer was successful and the young clone still had a positive midichlorian count. So now that the new clone was ready to be picked up, Vader traveled back to Kamino to retrieve him. However, as he held the young Anakin Skywalker for the first time, Vader was shocked. The Dark Lord felt a mix of different emotions. Although he was satisfied with this creation, part of him was speechless. This is how he looked when he was that age? More importantly though, is this how he and Padme's child would have looked? For years, they picked so many different boy names together, one being the name Jin to honor Qui-Gon Jinn, and another boy name they picked out together was Luke. Holding this child made Vader remember those moments with Padme, and what could have been. However, now wasn't the time for weakness. Although he was still young, it was now time to get to work and to prepare and train the young Anakin Skywalker. So, Vader left Kamino with Anakin, and their new journey together had begun.
Ooh.
10 years had passed since Vader cloned himself, and everything had gone according to his plan. Under Vader's command, his new clone of Anakin Skywalker was growing stronger by the day, and together, the two were unstoppable. However, because of Anakin's accelerated aging, he was now technically at the age of 20 and was almost at the height of his power. Each and every day, Vader trained Anakin brutally and taught him everything he knew about the Force and how to master the dark side. Day in and day out, he put Anakin through rigorous training, intense lightsaber combat sessions, and studies on what made the Jedi so weak. In a way, it made Vader proud, because as he was watching Anakin grow older and stronger, it made him reflect on his own life. Although he refused to acknowledge the name Anakin Skywalker anymore, he couldn't help but think to himself that his clone has nearly reached the power he could have reached had he never been burned. However, not just because of his power in the Force, but even personality-wise. This clone shared the same exact personality as Anakin once did, just darker. He wasn't held back by the Jedi's strict rules or their pathetic way of teachings, but instead just full of raw power. This new Anakin had anger, he had hatred, and most of all, he was becoming unstoppable. However, there was just one problem. As Anakin's powers in the Force grew, Vader had to make sure that he was kept a secret from the Emperor by any means necessary. He had to make sure that Palpatine never found out about his creation, and so he went through extra lengths to make that happen. Since Palpatine kept some of his personal royal guards stationed at Vader's castle, he had to make sure that none of them would grow suspicious. So he did something smart. To keep Anakin a secret, Vader purposely never kept him in his castle, but rather in one of his hidden fortresses on the planet of 𝙂𝙚. It was in that fortress where Anakin was kept hidden for all these years, but Vader didn't just leave him there all by himself. To ensure Anakin was always safe, he had his own personal assistant 𝙂𝙚 look after him there, and in a way he was essentially his caretaker over the years. Luckily, Vader trusted 𝙂𝙚 enough to keep this a secret from the Emperor, and so he was the only other person in the galaxy who knew about this clone. However, to make sure that Anakin was still being trained, Vader would travel to 𝙂𝙚 almost daily, and it was there where he would put him through those intense sessions. Now 10 years later, Vader traveled to the fortress just like he'd always do, and it was there where he met with Anakin.
Master, you're here early today.
Yes, clone. I have urgent news to share with you.
What is it?
Your powers in the dark side have grown stronger. It seems you are almost ready to confront the Emperor.
I've been ready for a while. I don't see why we don't get this over with already.
Be careful not to get ahead of yourself, clone. Remember your place.
Remember my place? You need me. Without me, you'll never be able to take Sidious on alone.
Vader shook his head. His clone was truly a carbon copy of his old self, arrogant and blinded by his power.
You are but a mere clone and easily replaceable. Disobey my orders, and you will not live to regret it.
Shall we put that to a test, then?
As you wish.
With that, Anakin ignited his crimson red saber and did a backflip to attack his master. Vader then ignited his, and it was now a duel between him and Anakin Skywalker. However, as the two clashed sabers, Vader was impressed with Anakin's speed and agility. Although they practiced every day, this time Anakin felt quicker, more powerful. He wasn't sure if it was just the accelerated aging taking effect, but this time around, Anakin felt stronger. Despite him not saying anything though, Vader enjoyed this. He enjoyed seeing his clone progress and seeing his raw power grow. That was as long as he knew his place. As long as he knew that he would never be the master and only a mere clone, nothing else. So Anakin and Vader kept clashing, but over time, Vader grew tired. Throughout this fight so far, he was just toying with him, but now he was done. It was time to put Anakin in his place. So without even hesitating, Vader quickly knocked Anakin's saber out of his hands and brought him to the ground. As he did, he pointed his saber right at Anakin's throat.
Impressive, clone. Very impressive. Your powers have indeed grown stronger.
That was lucky. You caught me off guard.
Your arrogance blinds you. Such weakness will not work if we are to overthrow the Emperor.
Vader retracted his saber, and as he did, Anakin picked himself up.
What must I do then? I'm tired of being held back here, Master. I haven't even hunted a single Jedi yet. I should be out there with you, hunting them all down, not stuck here in this fortress all day.
Patience, clone. Today was your best performance yet. A few months more of our training and you will be ready.
Ah, yes. I suppose of all people you should know that, because I am you.
Vader went silent.
That's all I am to you, aren't I? Just a remembrance of your old self.
Vader became enraged. Every part of him wanted to attack this clone right then and there and finish him off for good. However, he held himself back. Although he'd never admit it, Anakin was right. He needed him. If this plan were to work, Anakin would be the key to everything. Vader couldn't overthrow Palpatine himself, no matter how hard he tried. He needed him to make this happen.
3 more months, then you shall be ready.
Anakin nodded his head.
Vinay will be here shortly. I shall see you tomorrow, clone.
Alright. I am your father.
3 months
Literally.
passed, and just as Vader predicted, Anakin was now ready to
It's more like, I am Anakin Prime. You're just a mere fanfic alternate. It's more like, I am Anakin Prime. You're just nothing but a mere fanfic.
confront the Emperor. Since Vader knew his old self more than anybody, he knew that 3 months would be the perfect time for Anakin's skills to grow enough. And well, he was right. Anakin was ready. So as Vader went to the fortress once again, he met with Anakin to depart for Coruscant.
We will now be setting off for Coruscant, clone.
About
And-
time.
Vader ignored
Okay.
his comment.
Shoulders should...
You will be disguised as an Inquisitor. The face of Anakin Skywalker is too recognizable. You will wear it, and we will confront my...
I don't know what to make of that. What happened? How would that be feasible? You just get unbirthed?
Master in his office. Is that understood?
Anakin nodded.
Good.
Hi Starlight, how are you? :3 all you want. You're not safe. :3.
We leave for Coruscant at once.
From there, Anakin was placed into his new Inquisitor fit, and the two set off for Coruscant.
Alright.
As time passed, Vader and Anakin arrived, and they made their way to the Imperial Palace. Just like Vader predicted, Anakin's Inquisitor disguise worked, and nobody raised an eyebrow at all. So, as the two entered Palpatine's office, Palpatine turned from his chair.
Lord Vader, I take it your recent missions have gone well, my old friend?
Yes, my master.
Yet, I sense an unfamiliarity with this Inquisitor standing by your side. I do not believe I have been acquainted with them yet.
Anakin stayed silent.
Remove your helmet, Inquisitor.
Anakin removed his helmet. As he did, Palpatine was shocked. It looked like he just saw a ghost. However, as Palpatine kept looking at the young Anakin Skywalker, his emotions shifted. Out of nowhere, he started laughing.
Magnificent. Very, very impressive work, Lord Vader.
Vader went silent.
It seems you took it upon yourself to clone the weak, pathetic man that Anakin Skywalker once was.
You're gravely mistaken, Your Highness. I am nothing like that Jedi Anakin Skywalker.
Ah, yes. Just like young Skywalker. You too are blinded by your own arrogance.
I will no longer be serving you, my master. Your rule has come to an end.
Is that so? You are but a fool, Lord Vader. It was I who saved you on Mustafar all those years ago. And this is how you repay me? By attempting to overthrow me with your
9, 10, 12, 10, 11, 12. What is this? That's supposed to be Megiddo. taste and then sticking your tongue out. That's what's for you. Meat, meat. Beep, beep. I'm a sheep. Recently came with another one. It was Jeep, Jeep. I'm a beep. Honk.
Pathetic clone? Or perhaps your clone is a reminder of what you could have been had you never been defeated.
Palpatine looked at Anakin.
He was destined to be my dream apprentice, and he could have been so much more. However, he was too weak. Too weak to even defeat a lone Jedi. Perhaps if he had spent less time focusing on his cloning experiment, he could have gotten his revenge on Obi-Wan Kenobi by now. But per usual, Lord Vader is as clumsy as he is stupid.
Vader had enough. He was filled with rage.
Let us end this, clone.
Anakin nodded and ignited his red saber. So did Vader.
So be it.
With that, Palpatine also ignited his and leaped towards the two of them. It was now a duel between Vader, Anakin, and Palpatine as the three fought in the Emperor's office. Flashes of red beamed across the room as the three went back and forth, clashing their lightsabers. However, as the three dueled, Palpatine quickly realized that he was no match for the two of them. Individually, he'd be able to take them easily, but their combined strength was just too much. Throughout his years of living, he hadn't lost many duels, but he was quickly becoming overwhelmed, especially by Anakin. His raw power, his strength, his agility, everything. So the three kept clashing, but in time, Palpatine got weaker and weaker.
Right. Hey Elizabeth, how are you? Hi, hi. Ohio.
As the two overwhelmed the Emperor, Anakin was finally able to get the upper hand. Out of nowhere, he knocked
No,
Palpatine's
don't
saber
eat the
right out of
live
his hands
stream. Don't eat the live stream. No. Disconnect.
and then, using all his power in the dark side, Anakin unleashed a bolt of Force lightning right at Palpatine, bringing him to the ground. However, not only was Palpatine shocked at this, but so was Vader and even Anakin himself. Vader never taught him that, and Anakin never knew he had such power. He felt unstoppable. So as Palpatine laid there on the ground, Anakin pointed his saber right at his throat. Vader stood behind him.
Good. Very good. Young Skywalker. It seems you are more powerful than your master. Unfortunately, due to his injuries, he could never master the ability of Force Lightning. But here you are.
Shut it. I didn't ask you to speak.
Oh, but you'll want to hear what I have to say, young Skywalker. Your master is a fool. You are nothing more than just a mere clone to him. He sees you as a tool, and nothing more. Kill me if you wish, but you'll always remain his slave.
And what's stopping me from killing both of you?
Your age.
What are you talking about?
What? Did Lord Vader never tell you? Your age is accelerated, young Skywalker. You age twice as fast as, say, a normal human. What took you 10 years to reach this age would take someone else 20 years.
Anakin went silent. He had no words.
Join me, young Skywalker, and I will ensure that your rapid aging will be put to an end. Together we can discover the secret, and you shall have unlimited power.
Anakin stayed quiet. He couldn't believe what he was hearing.
Become my apprentice. Learn to use the true dark side of the Force.
At that moment, Vader knew he had to act. The longer Palpatine was alive, the more he tried to manipulate Anakin. He of all people knew that since he was in those same exact shoes all those years ago. So Vader had to put this to an end. He couldn't let this go on.
Join me, young Scott.
Out of nowhere, Vader leaped towards Palpatine and stabbed his saber right through his chest. It was over. Emperor Palpatine was dead.
No! Why would you?
Without hesitation, Anakin rushed towards Vader, and now the two of them began to clash. Anakin and Vader then went back and forth, just like they've done countless times before. But this time, it was to the death. This time, only one of them would survive. So the two kept clashing, but luckily for Vader, he came prepared. He knew every weakness that Anakin had. He knew every move that he was about to make. However, there was one issue. Anakin was more athletic, more agile, and quicker. If Vader kept going on like this, he'd lose. So he pushed back to catch his breath real quick. As he did, he and Anakin looked at one another face to face. With Anakin's eyes blazed with yellow and orange, he said,
Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me I aged faster?
You were created to serve one purpose, clone. To defeat the Emperor by my side. Now, you are of no further use.
I am more than just a clone, you fool.
Out of nowhere, Anakin leaped right back towards Vader and the duel continued. This time though, Vader didn't let up. He wanted Anakin to become enraged. He wanted his arrogance to get the best of him. However, more than anything, he wanted Anakin to think he had to prove himself. He made that same mistake years ago on Mustafar, and that mentality is what cost him everything. Anakin would soon make a similar mistake, as long as Vader stayed patient. So the two kept clashing, and with everything Anakin threw at him, Vader had a counter. He knew Anakin's moves far too well, and he was prepared. So, finally using all his rage, Anakin went in for an attack on Vader, but then... With one swift strike of his blade, Vader sliced Anakin's arm off, bringing him to the ground.
You are beaten.
Anakin laid there in agonizing pain. However, as he looked up at Vader, he tried his best to speak.
You... All I ever was to you was a pet. I was... nothing.
Did you really believe you were more than that, clone?
Kill me, Lord Vader. End
You
me
first.
if you wish.
No, what do you mean,
You'll always remember me as what you could have been.
What do you mean, Plunger, yes. Let's misspell burger. Burger. Yo, I mean, I'm your dad. What the fuck is going on? Chat, I am not pregnant. Even... Not with that attitude. Yo, motherfucker. Motherfucker. Someone in another on one of the other platforms said, "Not with that attitude, you little shit." 7. There's an actual mom that's documented that had birthed 7 babies. So, nah, I would not survive. Chat. God damn it. Chat, you should always know the number one rule on an art stream is to never give an artist ideas. You think I won't draw you pregnant? You think I won't draw you pregnant? I have the power to draw you pregnant. And I will fucking do that. Who's the mom? You're both the mom and the dad. You're the mom and dad and the child. I wrote yellow on positive first issue. Nice. Nice. Okay, I need to. I kind of making. What if Ben 10 was gender swapped in a witch? What do we call that Omnitrix? The witch tricks? Let's try to create an Omnitrix. So we look for him. Ben 11. No. It would be Gen 10. Like Generator X, but it's like Jennifer Tennyson, Gen 10. Kind of like a but the instead of J it's a G, kind of make it like an homage to Ben 10 Generator X Heroes United. It also reminds me. Okay. No, Ben 11. Ben 11. Would you really name it? Would you name a baby girl Ben? Uh, would you name a baby girl Ben? Not a, not a. You literally name your baby 9/11. Wow. Wow. Nah. Nah. That's vile.
I will always be a reminder of all of your failures. Go rule the galaxy. Go be the Emperor. But nothing will ever bring back your dead wife. Nothing will ever.
Without hesitation, Vader stabbed his saber right through Anakin's body. Anakin Skywalker was now dead, and Vader couldn't help but laugh inside. Everything had gone according to his plan, and now he had a galaxy to rule. Vader had truly won. So he took one last look at his dead clone's body, and as he did, he said,
"The Empire thanks you for your service, clone."
As Vader said this, he then walked away and went deep in thought. Sidious was dead, the galaxy was his, and now the Empire was only going to grow stronger from this
I know.
forward. However, Vader didn't want to stop there.
So, in alternate universe where Ben is actually a gender swap witch. The witch tricks. Oh, combining I kind of make it like a we take the Ben 10 the ultimate Ben 10K from Alien Force where he displayed he could use anodite powers. Kind of like that. I don't want to make it accidentally Chucky tricks. I'll make it one as unique as possible. Left wrist tilt.
As his mind raced, he began thinking of a new plan, a new project that would let nobody stop him, one that would terrify this galaxy and anybody who opposed him.
Gen 11? Gen 11?
Lord Vader, it has been a while.
Hold on. If Ben, no, don't even Wi-Fi disconnect. If so, from the Ben 10 5 years later comics, would it technically Ben 21-year-old Ben Tennyson would be called Ben 100? And then slowly he takes up Ben 1000 and then Ben 10K? Would it be like that? Am I the only one? Gen 11. Gen 11. You know, the name Gen 11, it kind of sounds like the child of Gwen and Kevin. And named child Gen 11. You know, that sounds like a child of Gwen and Kevin. Ben, well, Ben 100K. That would be like when Ben is nearing his old age. When Ben is like, so the Ben 10K that we usually see is Ben when he's 30 years old. Ben when he's 6 years old would be Ben 100K. And then Ben when he's 90 years old would be Ben 1 million. Huh? Come on. Alright, let's see here. Huh. Neckcracker. Whoa. Alright.
I take it your clone has been serving you well?
Your creation was a failure, Prime Minister. I was most disappointed by its lack of obedience.
My apologies, Lord Vader. The clone was designed to be an exact replication of its original host.
That is not why I summoned you, Prime Minister. I am here to present you with an opportunity to fix your mistakes by creating me a clone army of the exact template. This time, there will be no mistakes. I require each clone to show obedience and loyalty to this
Witch
empire.
tricks.
Lord Vader, as much as I would like to assist you, it was one of your...
Chat, you cannot get me pregnant. Even if you plap me till I get pregnant, it'll probably be a phantom pregnancy. Yeah. Don't say close enough. What the fuck? You know, if an alien saved me, you would take it just put it far, far away. Nah. Nope. I mean, there is Rule 34 of Alien versus Predator, but we're not gonna get into that. No pregnant. No pregnant. No pregnant. Only breed. No pregnant. Only breed. Alright. I see another video. Another video.
What if Count Dooku trained Anakin?
There we go. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, where are you counting to? Breed. No. 45. Is that? Are you counting how many times you breed me? What the fuck? Chat, what the? Oh my fucking hell. Guess what? What? What is it? What is it? What the fuck is going on, chat? Press help. Bro, why you are using... Yeah, bro. Nobody asked. You know, bro, nobody asked. Point 6.7. Oh my fucking hell. Now. User timeout. But user. Okay, where is... And there we go. Now I have to reset the model again. What the fuck is going on? Honestly, I don't know. I don't
What
know.
if Count Dooku trained Anakin? In The Phantom Menace, we witnessed Qui-Gon's death and how he made Obi-Wan promise to train Anakin in the ways of the Force. Over the next 13 years, Obi-Wan taught him everything he knew, and although the two became almost like brothers, Anakin eventually fell to the dark side and became Darth Vader. But what if things were different? What if Dooku was the one to train Anakin instead of Obi-Wan? How different would things have played out if he took it upon himself to train Anakin on his own? Well, in this alternate timeline, that's exactly what we'll be diving into, so let's get right into it. Our story begins towards the start of the epic showdown between Darth Maul, Qui-Gon Jinn, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Maul had just revealed himself to the two Jedi, and now the three were clashing sabers. However, this is where our story is different from the original. As this duel was going on, Palpatine sat in his office and went deep in thought. He thought to himself, something felt off. Although he had faith in Maul and his abilities, he sensed that his apprentice wouldn't be victorious in this duel. He sensed weakness in Maul. This was a problem, because Palpatine didn't want any Jedi surviving that duel, neither Obi-Wan Kenobi nor Qui-Gon Jinn. Both of them had to be dead. So Palpatine then made a calculated decision. Without hesitation, he had to contact the replacement he already had from all if things took a turn, Count Dooku. A few years ago, Dooku left the Jedi Order because of how corrupt they had become, so Palpatine took advantage of that. Over the past years, Palpatine had been manipulating Dooku and slowly teaching him the ways of the dark side. Throughout their time together, Dooku has proved on multiple occasions that he was loyal to their cause, but he wasn't ready to be pledged as a full Sith. Not yet, at least. One day, Palpatine would replace Maul with Dooku as his new apprentice, but now wasn't that time. For now, the Jedi had to be eliminated, and Palpatine had to make sure of it, so he contacted Dooku immediately.
Yes, my lord. Count Dooku, I sense a disturbance in the Force, almost as if Lord Maul does not have what it takes to defeat the two Jedi. I need you to go to Naboo and ensure that neither Jedi survive. Kill them both.
What? Are you asking me to kill Qui-Gon Jinn? You've gone too far.
If you won't, Lord Maul will.
No, that was not part of our deal. Qui-Gon is to remain unharmed.
It seems that your feelings for your old apprentice have left you weakened, my old friend. That is most disappointing.
Dooku paused. He loved Qui-Gon. He couldn't kill him, he just couldn't.
But he could be a powerful ally.
For you, perhaps. If we are to achieve our goals, sacrifices are required, all in service of our greater goals.
Have I not achieved our goals? 𝙂𝙀, Kamino, the clones? I have betrayed everyone and everything I know, but I will not kill Qui-Gon Jinn.
So be it. It seemed you are unloyal to our cause. If you will not deal with the Jedi, then I will myself.
No. I will go.
Good. Once you are finished, report to me at once. I will be most eager to hear about your mission.
From there, Dooku hung up, and with that, he set off for the planet of Naboo. As Dooku arrived, he made his way to the palace hangar on Naboo, where he sensed the duel was taking place. However, there was one problem. As he was walking through the hangar, he heard nothing, not a single sound. He thought to himself, was their duel already over? More importantly though, was Qui-Gon okay? Dooku kept walking through the palace. However, because he couldn't hear a sound, he started making his way towards the back where the generator core room was. So Dooku kept walking and walking when all of a sudden he heard someone crying? It was coming from the generator core room. What was going on? So Dooku quickly rushed towards the room, but when he did, he witnessed the unthinkable. It was there where he saw Qui-Gon Jinn laying in the arms of his apprentice, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Although Dooku knew all about Obi-Wan, the two never met until now. Dooku then looked over at Qui-Gon. Was he dead? No, he couldn't be. Then Obi-Wan spoke up.
He's gone.
No, he can't be.
Dooku swelled with rage.
Who did this? Was it a Sith Lord?
Obi-Wan held back tears.
Yes, it was, Master Dooku. He killed him.
And where is this Sith now?
He's dead. I killed him. But Master Qui-Gon didn't make it.
Dooku had enough. He was tired of Palpatine's games, his manipulations, everything. For years he made so many sacrifices for him. But now, he was done. This had gone too far. Dooku was fed up. He then looked over at Obi-Wan, who still had tears in his eyes. No matter what crimes Dooku had done in the past, he refused to hurt Obi-Wan. He refused to kill him. He and Obi-Wan might be the only people in this world who knew what a great man Qui-Gon Jinn was. The Jedi Council never knew it, Palpatine never knew it, but Dooku and Obi-Wan did.
Obi-Wan, is it?
Yes, sir.
Qui-Gon always spoke so highly of you. Do not take blame for this.
I know, but if only I was with him, I could have...
No, do not take the blame for this.
Dooku wanted to say more. This wasn't Obi-Wan's fault. This was Darth Sidious's fault, and nobody else's. However, he held back from saying anything. Although he wanted to tell Obi-Wan about Darth Sidious, he felt he was way too young to understand what was going on right now.
Leave this place now. Contact the Council immediately, and let them know what has transpired here.
Yes, sir. Where are you going?
I will stay.
Obi-Wan nodded. He knew better than to ask any more questions. So with that, he rushed back to the hangar and took off. However, as Dooku stayed behind, he went deep in thought. His chest felt tight. He was devastated.
We are your children. I mean, yeah, you are my Blitzies.
This wasn't how his story was supposed to end. Dooku then looked down at Qui-Gon's body. As he did, he said,
I swear it. I will avenge you, my old friend. I promise.
From there, Dooku started to walk away. However, as he did, he felt something unusual in the Force. Something strong. Something powerful. Although Dooku couldn't pinpoint what it was, he felt like it was coming from near the hangar. Whatever was going on was coming from there. So, Dooku made his way to the hangar, but as he did, he saw a young boy. However, this boy looked lost. He looked scared.
Master Obi-Wan? Master Qui-Gon? Hello? Is anybody there?
That boy. Dooku recognized him. That was the boy that Palpatine spoke so highly of. The boy that was rumored to be the chosen one. Although he never saw him up close before, that had to be him. That was what was so strong in the Force. From what Palpatine told him, this boy was taken away from his mother and was now brought into the Jedi Order. This was unusual, since normally the Jedi don't accept children at such a late age. Dooku thought to himself, there must be something unique about him if they did. So he then walked up to the boy.
Hi, sir. Have you seen Master Qui-Gon and Master Obi-Wan? They were here not long ago. I wanted to tell them that we won. The Trade Federation ship is now blown up.
My boy, Qui-Gon Jinn, is dead.
Anakin froze. He felt numb. What? Master Qui-Gon was dead? No, he couldn't be.
What about Master Obi-Wan?
From what I saw, he already left and is headed back to Coruscant. It appears he had more pressing matters to attend to.
Anakin shed a tear. He was devastated. He thought Obi-Wan cared about him. Why would he leave, he thought to himself.
You must be Anakin Skywalker. I am Count Dooku. I used to be Qui-Gon Jinn's master.
Pleased to meet you, sir, but how did Master Qui-Gon die?
He was killed by a mysterious Sith Lord. Unfortunately, I warned the Jedi for years of this growing darkness, but they chose to ignore everything I told them. Such is the cost of ignorance.
Anakin went silent. At that moment, Dooku's thoughts shifted. Wait a minute, what if he trained Anakin himself? What if that could be his way of getting revenge on Sidious? If Anakin was as gifted in the Force as Sidious said, then he could train him himself. Together, they could be unstoppable and could finally put an end to this corrupt republic.
Young Skywalker, believe it or not, I too was once a Jedi, but I left after I saw through their lies and hypocrisy. At the moment, they are blindly serving a corrupt Senate that fails the Republic it represents. In time, the Jedi Order will collapse, and by then, it will be far too late for you. I offer you a choice, my boy. Join me, and we will put an end to it. We can bring peace back to the galaxy, and we will avenge Qui-Gon Jinn's death.
Anakin froze. He couldn't join him. He wanted to be a Jedi.
But sir, I wanted to be a Jedi.
Yes, and where has that gotten you? From what I understand, they forced you to be away from your mother, and they didn't even bother freeing her either. And I can only assume the Jedi Council was not so warm and welcoming due to your late age.
Anakin paused. He was right. Everything Master Dooku said was right.
Join me, young Skywalker. I will show you power beyond what the Jedi will ever teach you. And in time, you will free your mother. I guarantee it.
Free his mother? Anakin was beside himself. That would mean so much to him. Although he was scared, lost, and confused, in a way he trusted Master Dooku. If everything he was saying was true, then maybe this was for the best. Anakin couldn't decline this offer.
Okay. I will join you, Master Dooku.
Good. Let us leave this planet. From there we shall begin your training at once, young Skywalker.
13 years had passed since Anakin joined Dooku, and under Dooku's training, his life completely changed. Over the years, Anakin had not only become stronger.
I gotta read the chat. I missed so much. Yes. No. What are we nomming? Eating the chat. No, don't eat the chat. No. No. Don't eat chat. I do not condone cannibalism. No. Don't eat chat. Bad chat. Bad chat. Don't eat chat. Bad chat. Omni. No. The witch tricks. The witch tricks. Save. File rename. Can I rename the file? The Omni. The Witch Tricks. Okay. We're gonna have to erase some majority of this.
But he also became a way more disciplined and more skilled duelist had he stayed with the Jedi Order. During this time, Dooku trained Anakin brutally each and every day and taught him everything he knew about both sides of the Force and lightsaber combat. Although their training was hard, the results were beyond measure. Anakin had become stronger by the day and become a much more powerful warrior than he could ever imagine. However, there was one issue. Anakin's identity had to remain a secret from both the Jedi and Darth Sidious. Dooku made sure of this because he knew that if word got around that Anakin was still alive, Sidious would try to take him for himself. He figured that Sidious probably had a new apprentice by now, but he couldn't risk losing Anakin to him. Not only that, but the Jedi also believed that Anakin was dead, and Dooku intended to keep it that way. Ever since the events on Naboo, they never heard word from the young boy ever again, so they assumed he died in battle against the Trade Federation. So, just like Qui-Gon Jinn, the Jedi also mourned the loss of Anakin Skywalker. However, to ensure Anakin was kept hidden, Dooku had a plan. Over these past years, he trained Anakin back on his home planet of Sereno and made sure that Anakin's skills grew by the day, all while remaining in hiding. It was there where Dooku took Anakin under his wing, but he didn't just teach him how to become a skilled duelist. Dooku also spent a lot of time sharing stories with Anakin about his time as a Jedi and also the journeys he'd gone with Qui-Gon Jinn. Just like Dooku, Anakin always appreciated Qui-Gon, as he was the only one who had faith in him. Unlike Qui-Gon, the rest of the Jedi Council just treated him like an outcast, like a monster. However, to Anakin's surprise, Dooku understood his pain. Over the years, Dooku taught Anakin to embrace his emotions, all while staying controlled, tactical, and disciplined. This, of course, was the complete opposite to what the Jedi's teachings were. In Dooku's eyes, one of the biggest flaws of the Jedi Order is that they've always forced their Jedi to ignore their emotions and thoughts. In his opinion, that's why they were so blinded by their own ignorance. Dooku believed that embracing emotions was essential to one's life, so he encouraged Anakin to do that, all while maintaining control over himself. As a result, Anakin was extremely grateful for his master's teachings, and the two really developed a strong bond. However, not only did they have a strong connection, but they each wielded their own red lightsaber. At one point, Dooku brought Anakin to the planet of 𝙂𝙚, and although a blue kyber crystal called out to Anakin, that all quickly changed. After some time, he and Dooku each used the dark side to bleed out their blue crystals to form them to the color of red. Although neither of them were true Sith, they definitely weren't Jedi, but were ready to take control of the galaxy together. Now years later, everything had gone according to Dooku's plan, and they were getting closer and closer to their ultimate goal, to overthrow Darth Sidious. Over the past years, the Clone Wars started without Dooku, and although it was him who was supposed to be the face of the Separatist movement, now he wasn't. Since Dooku chose to leave Sidious's side, Sidious was forced to find new representatives for the Separatist cause. So he did just that and controlled both sides of the war, this time without Dooku. Although Dooku had an itch to take down the Republic, he had an even bigger plan, but it would require patience. So, over the past 13 years, Anakin and Dooku remained in hiding together on Sereno and stayed calm and patient until their day would eventually come. Soon, the galaxy would belong to them, and peace would be restored when the time was right. However, there was one problem. Anakin was getting impatient. He saw the Clone Wars take place, and he wanted to be out there himself. For so long, Dooku forced him to remain in hiding, and although Anakin was grateful for his master, he wanted more. He was tired of staying in the shadows. He wanted to be out there. So, Anakin decided to approach his master, who was in his lair.
Master Dooku.
Yes, young Skywalker.
I know you've always wanted me to remain hidden until the time was right. But Master, when is that time? I've never fought a single Jedi before. Yes, I've practiced against you and our training droids that you've collected, but that's about it. I should be out there.
Have patience, young Skywalker. Soon our time will come, but we must wait for that exact moment.
Yes, and you've always said that. But when? What are we waiting for exactly?
I suppose you are now old enough to understand what is at hand. Allow me to explain, my boy. Each and every clone trooper that is now part of the Republic Army is programmed with inhibitor chips. These chips were established with the help of the Kaminoan scientists, as well as Darth Sidious and I's work many years ago. By now, you know who Darth Sidious is, and what we are after.
Yes, you told me we were going to overthrow him. But when?
Patience, my boy. What you don't know is that Darth Sidious is controlling both sides of the war. He is currently disguised as the Chancellor of the Galactic Republic, Chancellor Sheev Palpatine. The Jedi are not aware the Dark Lord of the Sith is hiding beneath their noses as we speak. However, soon, very soon, Darth Sidious will make his presence known. Soon he will execute a command called Protocol 66, which will force each and every clone trooper to turn against the Jedi. From there, the Jedi will all be but destroyed, and he will plan to rule as the new Galactic Emperor.
You always told me he was dangerous, but I never knew that.
Ah, yes. But this is where we come into play, young Skywalker. Once the time is right, we shall confront Sidious in his office with whomever his new apprentice is. Knowing him, he's found a replacement for me by now. If all goes well, then the galaxy will be in our hands. We shall expose Sidious for his crimes against the Republic, and we shall bring peace and order.
Make sure to keep chatting English, please.
I understand, my master. But how will we know when the time is? I mean, he could be executing this Protocol 66 whenever, right?
My boy, we will sense this disturbance in the Force at the moment it happens. Let Sidious command his clones. We want that to happen. Once we expose him for his crimes, exposing his work behind the inhibitor chips will make our rise to power even easier. The Republic will see us as heroes, Skywalker, and they will no longer have to serve a corrupt leader.
I understand.
I have taught you everything I know, young Skywalker. You have become a much stronger warrior than I could ever imagine. Once Sidious is defeated, we will be the only two Sith in the galaxy, and your journey towards the dark side will be even greater. Have patience, my boy. Everything will go as planned.
Anakin paused.
Master, can I ask you something?
Of course, young Skywalker.
Over a decade ago, when I joined you as a boy, you promised we'd be able to free my mother. I've done my best to stay patient, since you've always told me how risky it would be going to Tatooine myself. But when will I finally be able to see her again? I miss her.
My boy, after we take this galaxy for ourselves, you can do all as you wish. I did promise you we'd free her once you were strong enough in the Force, did I not?
You did.
Exactly. And so when we do finish our plan, you may do so as you wish with your mother. She could live in Coruscant with us. Anything you please, Skywalker. The galaxy will be completely yours. However, you must stay hidden. Nobody can know you are still alive, young Skywalker. Our time will come very, very soon. Even perhaps sooner than you expect.
Anakin nodded, and from there he left Dooku's lair. Although he was calm when speaking to his master, Anakin was frustrated inside. Part of him was furious. Dooku promised that he was going to save his mother, but it's been 13 years now, and now he has to wait.
Guys. Alright. Bye, Starlight. See you later. Grover, you can use please please keep chat English, please, Grover. Thank you. Go to sleep. Go to sleep, Starlight. You should be up this late. Grover, I will time you out. Please keep chatting English. here. Alright, here. Why did I no? Alright. Nice. Alright. Alright, here we go.
Even longer? Anakin was tired of being locked up on the same planet. It's all he's known for most of his life now. He wanted to be with his mother. He wanted to fight on the battlefield. Anakin felt held back. Although he appreciated his master, he couldn't help but want more. He craved more control, more power, more freedom. Anakin quickly stopped himself. No, he couldn't think like that. He had to be patient. If all went according to him and his master's plan, he'll have everything he ever wanted. Everything.
Okay, let's see. How are we gonna do this?
Execute Order 66.
With those very words said, Order 66 was executed and chaos was spread across the galaxy.
Ooh.
Minute by minute, the Jedi Order began to collapse and the Empire was getting closer and closer to rising to power. However, as this occurred, Anakin felt the disturbance. His master was right. He's never felt something so strong and so dark before. So, Anakin approached Dooku in his lair right away and the two spoke.
Master, have you felt it?
Yes.
Okay, how are we gonna...
Now we will thrive in the chaos that plagues this galaxy. We depart for Coruscant at once.
Yes, my
Okay.
master.
With that, the two set off for Coruscant. As time passed, Dooku and Anakin arrived on Coruscant and made their way up to Palpatine's office. As for Anakin though, this was a huge change for him. He hadn't seen Coruscant ever since he was a boy, and although he was here strictly for a mission, he loved the thought of possibly ruling from right here on this planet. All he'd seen these past 13 years was Sereno, so being here was such a shock for him. However, now wasn't the time for weakness. They had a mission to complete. So as Dooku and Anakin stormed into Palpatine's office, they saw the Chancellor sitting right there. However, he wasn't alone. Next to him was a hooded figure with black robes. Wait, was that?
Count Dooku.
Palpatine turned from his chair. His face was deformed. Dooku thought to himself, what happened to him?
I am impressed to see that you have survived throughout all these years, even after you betrayed me.
Palpatine looked down on the ground.
You remember Master Windu, don't you?
Dooku looked down as well. It was there where Windu's head was just sitting there on the ground. Mace Windu was dead?
Ah, yes. He and his 3 pathetic Jedi attempted to overthrow my apprentice and I. But, as you see, it did not work in their favor. Now, my old friend, it seems you are far too late. The Jedi Order is collapsing by the minute, and soon, very soon, this galaxy will be reformed into the new galactic empire. My apprentice and I will make sure of that.
Dooku looked at Palpatine's apprentice again. Who was he?
Ah, yes. I don't believe you two were ever acquainted with one another. This is my apprentice, Darth Maul.
Maul? How is he alive? Didn't Obi-Wan kill him?
Years after you betrayed me back on Naboo, I quickly discovered that Maul survived his injuries. Now he has become a much more powerful Sith than you were ever destined to be, my old friend.
I told you this years ago, Lord Sidious. You went too far by killing my apprentice. He could have been a powerful ally, yet you chose otherwise.
Oh no, don't blame me for that. My apprentice here was the one who killed him in cold blood. It seems your training towards Qui-Gon Jinn was a failure. You already let one of your apprentices down. Now it seems you are doing the same with young Skywalker.
Anakin froze. How did he know his name?
Yes. Did you really think I did not sense you were training Skywalker in secret? You truly are clumsy as you are stupid, Count Dooku.
You left me with no choice, Sidious. I sacrificed everything for you. I betrayed everything and everyone I know for our cause. But you only wanted more.
Such is the price for power, but you were just too weak.
Palpatine looked at Anakin.
You see, young Skywalker, your master abandoned the Jedi Order. He abandoned me, and soon he will do the same with you. He claims he wants peace in this galaxy, but just like his master Yoda, he's a coward.
Anakin went deep in thought. He couldn't believe what he was hearing.
Join me, young Skywalker, and I will show you true power beyond what Count Dooku could ever teach you.
Anakin felt conflicted. Wait, could Palpatine help him save his mother? Would he finally be able to do that?
Ignore him, Skywalker. Let us take them together and bring an end to this.
Anakin nodded his head. His master was right. So from there, he and Dooku ignited their red lightsabers.
It's treason, then.
Palpatine and Maul ignited theirs. From there, Palpatine then leaped towards Dooku and Anakin, and it was now a duel between the four of them. Flashes of red spread throughout the Chancellor's office as the four clashed sabers. Because it was a 2v2, Dooku and Palpatine began to fight against one another, while Anakin and Maul took their own 1v1. However, Maul was no match for Anakin. As the two clashed, Maul realized how powerful Anakin was, and how he truly was an elite duelist. For years, Sidious spoke so much about Anakin, but witnessing him up close was a different story. Maul sensed that Anakin had hatred. He sensed that he had anger, but he was able to control these emotions and use them to his advantage. Maul was so impressed. However, the fight was prolonging too much. Anakin wanted to end this once and for all. So, as the two clashed, Anakin finally got the upper hand on Maul. Out of nowhere, Anakin was able to knock his saber out of his hands and quickly force push him to the ground. Now, Maul was on the floor, weaponless. However, Anakin wasn't done. Then he quickly force-pulled Maul's saber into his hands and now held both sabers right above Maul's neck. As Maul sat on his knees, he realized he was no match for Anakin's power in the dark side. He had lost. As the two stood there, Anakin turned around and watched as Dooku and Palpatine were still clashing back and forth. Although Dooku was a skilled master, it seemed like he was struggling against Sidious. Anakin heard so much about this Sidious person for years, and it seemed like everything that Dooku said about him was right. The way he moved, the way he fought, it was so impressive.
You have made a mistake, Skywalker.
Anakin turned around.
I know what you're thinking. You believe that if you join my master, he will show you power that the pretender Dooku never taught you. However, you're wrong.
Enough. I didn't ask you to speak.
Oh, but you'll want to hear what I have to say. Your master stands no chance against Sidious. Any moment now, he will be defeated by him, and you will be left with a choice, Skywalker. Sidious will present you with an opportunity to join him, but just like me, he will only use you as a tool. I did not join him of my own free will, my boy. Sidious killed my brother in front of my own eyes. I was left with no other choice. You have raw power, Skywalker. But if you join him, you'll always be nothing more than his pet. However, join me, and together, we can destroy Sidious.
Anakin had enough. This small person was making him furious. However, before he knew it, he heard a yell. Anakin turned around. Dooku was now on the floor, and Sidious was cackling. However, as Anakin's back was turned, Maul tried to quickly take his lightsaber back, but then... Without hesitation, Anakin stabbed Maul right through his chest the moment he tried to attack him. It was over. Darth Maul was dead. As Anakin stood there, he was shocked. That was his very first kill. For so long, he had been trapped, held back, limited, but killing Maul felt so good. It felt thrilling.
Good. Very good, young Skywalker. Maul was a fool. Just like your master, he was just a placeholder for my true apprentice. You.
Anakin went numb. What? He wanted him to be his apprentice? Wait, that's exactly what Maul said. Anakin then looked over at Dooku, who was still on the ground. Then before he knew it, Sidious began torturing Dooku with Force Lightning. Anakin had never seen such a barrage of Force Lightning before. He's never seen such power. Although Dooku taught him the basics of Force Lightning years ago, what Sidious was doing was way different. What he was doing was way stronger and way deadlier. For years, Anakin always looked up to Dooku, but now he saw him as weak. He was just no match for Darth Sidious. Then out of nowhere, Sidious stopped torturing him. However, Dooku was seriously injured. He could barely breathe.
Count Dooku, only now at the end do you understand that your actions have consequences, my old friend.
Palpatine then looked at Anakin.
Young Skywalker, complete your training. Strike your master down and become my new apprentice.
Anakin froze. He felt so conflicted. Kill Dooku? His own master? Although he had resentment towards him, he never imagined killing him. No, he couldn't do that, right?
Ah, yes. I sense the conflict in you. Perhaps you should know the truth about your master. Your mother is dead, Skywalker. She's been for years.
Anakin went numb. What?
Killed by Tusken Raiders on your homeworld of Tatooine. However, your master knew that if you found out about this, you would try to kill him out of revenge. He's been afraid of your power for a long while now, my boy. He couldn't even bring himself to tell you the truth. He only wanted to use you for his own gain. Don't you see?
Anakin swelled up with rage. His eyes turned into a blazing yellow and red, something that had only happened a few times in his life. Then he looked at Dooku.
Is this true?
Dooku went silent. He was too injured to even speak.
Strike him down. Get your revenge and allow us to rule the galaxy as master and apprentice. Together we shall avenge your mother's death.
Anakin had enough. He's never felt anger more than in this very moment. So Anakin then ignited his crimson red saber and approached Dooku, who was still on his knees. From there, Dooku used all his strength to speak up to Anakin.
I'm sorry, Skywalker.
Anakin ignored him. His master's words meant nothing.
Die well, my old master.
With one strike of his blade, Anakin sliced Dooku's head off. It was done. Count Dooku was dead. As Anakin stood there, he was speechless. He's never felt so powerful before.
Good. Very good. Now, kneel before me, young Skywalker.
Anakin kneeled.
Your master was weak, but you have power. You have hatred. And now it is time to use it, my boy. Become my apprentice. Learn to know the true power of the dark side, and I will teach you everything that your master failed to do.
I pledge myself to your teachings.
Good. The Force is strong with you. A powerful Sith you will become. Henceforth, you shall be known as Darth Vader.
Kind of in the same way there, but the Anakin's a lot darker. Oh, that cracking in him.
When you have the director...
There you go.
of Gundam, the Mushoku Tensei offer, multiple mangaka, and thousands upon thousands of Japanese citizens within Japan, Japanese otakus calling out what you said, you know it's pretty bad. So what is going on here? What happened for those that are unaware of the situation? So basically, it all begins with this post from 𝙂𝙤, which is an interview with the screenwriter of the anime 𝙂𝙀 the Rock. It is a series that I have actually talked about a few years ago. I even made a special video of me sitting inside of a box to just review an episode of 𝙂𝙀 the Rock. Call me cringe, whatever. But the point of the matter is that it was a very well-beloved show. A lot of people enjoyed the series, and it became very popular. You might recall, around the time of when, like, 𝙂𝙀 the Rock came out, there was, for instance, Chainsaw Man Season 1 that was airing around the exact same time, and then there was a lot of, like, drama around, like, BD sales, DVD sales, and how 𝙂𝙀 kind of came out of nowhere and really, like, outsold Chainsaw Man. Well, you might remember that drama. But the point of the matter is that 𝙂𝙀 is a pretty popular series. It became extremely popular. However, when it was coming out, there was a lot of people that noticed instantly that there was some censorship. There was some changes from the manga, you know, into the anime. For instance, as you can see here, 𝙂𝙀's were completely removed. Now, obviously, when this came out a few years back, there was people actually upset about this. I wasn't really fully aware of it at the time because I was in anime only. But the point is that there was complaints about this, but there was not really any explanation for it. It just, people were like, why? They just felt like maybe it was a design decision or something like that, but it was left at that. However, that's where we get into the topic of the drama. So, we fast forward, basically, to 2025. Literally, on September 14th, just 2 days ago, this article or interview comes out from the anime screenwriter from 𝙂𝙀 the Rock, and makes a statement that is so damning that it has the collective Japanese otaku enraged. They are super angry, and, I mean, just take a look at the views of this article, okay? Before, like, Western, like, social media discovered this article had 35 million views already, okay? So that puts in perspective that this is not like people in the West or in Europe or in America or wherever complaining about the situation. This is strictly Japanese citizens extremely upset about it. Now, obviously, I haven't explained what the screenwriter said, so let's get into that one right now. So when the West became aware of the situation, it was thanks to this Japanese politician that became aware of everything, and basically he outlined this article that Japan was having, you know, some issues with what was said in this interview, a comment from the anime screenwriter of 𝙂𝙀 the Rock that they excluded some of the original expressions as noise. I wonder how the original creator feels about that. Personally, the usage of terms like sexual consumption and sexual exploitation also feels quite off to me. So basically, within this article, for the screenwriter that did the interview, she outlines and straight up says that drawings are exploitative, that drawings can hurt people, can hurt kids, hurt women, etc. And soon as I heard these lines just alone, instantly, I thought about what, like, is going on in the West. There is an active amount of people that assume fiction affects reality and can't separate fiction from reality, and there's a lot of people that think, like, fictional characters are real or something. Like, people think that, like, you're a PDF if you like Marin or talk about Marin from My Dress Up Darling. There's a lot of people like this within the West, and I think we have all seen it. You know, It's an anime tourist problem. But the point is, it seems like Japan has the exact same issue. There is activists in the actual industry that is trying to get things changing, to change things permanently, and has relatively gone unnoticed for a very long time until now, which is why there's such a massive backlash from the Japanese otaku and Japanese citizens. For instance, like the director of Gundam Seed and Cross Angie, doing Mushoku Tensei offer, and a bunch of other offers. The reason why is because the wording that is used within the very interview, which let's get right into that. So this screenwriter in particular, she goes on record in this interview not just to say drawings are exploitative to, let's say, kids and women, etc., and that pretty much treating like drawings as real and all that, can't separate fiction from reality, but she also says that 𝙂𝙀's, for instance, this is unrealistic and was a distraction or noise in this case, which is why you can see a lot of Japanese otaku extremely upset. You can see them constantly mentioning noise and all that because of the wording, and this comes straight from the screenwriter's own mouth, that basically, you know, she looked at the original content of the offer from, you know, 𝙂𝙀 the Rock, and was like, this is noise, this shouldn't exist, let's remove it, it's exploitative. And here's the thing, a lot of people within the comments and talking about the situation in Japan, they said one thing. They said that they understand broadcasting restrictions. Broadcasting restrictions happen where some things do get censored to change to be able to air on TV. That's just the government law. But in this case, what happened to 𝙂𝙀 the Rock, especially now with this that's come out, it wasn't thanks to broadcasting regulations. It was an activist within the creation of 𝙂𝙀 the Rock that took advantage of their power and basically did their own ideology. They forced their ideology and what they wanted in it to exist or not. And I want to state this as well. Within the interview that came out, the reason why she even decided to remove that content, for instance, like 𝙂𝙀 even having like a chest, is because she wanted her kid to be able to watch it. And here's the thing. I'm gonna just straight up say, 𝙂𝙀 the Rock is not meant for kids. It's not. It's not. It's a seinen. It is. Chibi and editing, correct me if I'm wrong. Put a picture on screen, show what demographic or whatever it's for if I'm wrong. If there is none, then obviously I said the right thing. But the point is that 𝙂𝙀 the Rock is not for kids, okay? It's very clear, and the author has also retweeted even like lolly art, for instance, for those that are completely unaware. And so it's very fascinating just seeing someone come in and like, oh, your content shouldn't exist because it's exploitative. And that is why everybody is super, super upset. This is also what the screenwriter for 𝙂𝙀 the Rock had to say about romance. She legitimately thinks that romance is violence. This is the original Japanese in the interview, and then this is the actual translation, as you can see here. And literally, in conclusion, she actually thinks romance is violent. So I think this says a lot about her and her perspective on things, and kind of, it really starts to add up why, like, 𝙂𝙀 was censored, and why she labeled things noise. It's just, a lot of things start to add up when you see stuff like this. It's just, yeah. So first off, I want to mention this, because there is a psyop right now, especially on social media, and I've seen it on Reddit as well, where people are blaming me for the 𝙂𝙀 the Rock drama. Like, what's going on with 𝙂𝙀 the Rock and stuff, and why things are happening, why people are complaining about the screenwriter. There is people actively saying I started it, when even the Japanese politician that mentioned this first, and broke it to the West and all that, and we all discovered it, literally says this is a complete lie. The issues have been a huge controversy in the Japanese anime and manga community as of yesterday. It's a stretch to blame it on Chibi. So, you hear it from the words from the Japanese politician himself. I am not involved for this. I am just covering what happened. So, with that being said, we can actually get into what was said by the CEO of the actual interview. The company that did the interview. This post right here, as you can see, 𝙂𝙂, you can see this is the CEO of that same exact corporation. So the CEO of 𝙂𝙂, the one that did the interview with the screenwriter, this is what they said publicly on social media. And upon, like, I'm assuming a few minutes to hours, the CEO swiftly deleted this tweet and this tweet. They deleted both tweets because of the backlash that they were starting to receive. People obviously took screenshots very early on, but you can see literally very early on when this was posted, he was already getting ratioed out the yin-yang. It was not good for him, so to speak. And if you take a look at the dialogue of what the CEO is saying, and once again, this is a Japanese CEO within Japan, okay? This isn't someone in America or in Europe or UK or whatever. This is a Japanese resident, from my understanding, with a Japanese company. They literally say that basically characters are, you know, exploitative. They straight up say it. They say fictional characters are real, and they pretty much also outline that most otaku are anti-political correctness, which just showcases a lot more about how the article is presented. It's presented in a way that is very activist-oriented, basically trying to have this, like, progressive feminist activist stuff. It's very obvious. I think anyone could see that. And especially when you have the CEO doubling down and saying something like this, and obviously deleting these tweets makes it even look even more damning from what they said. But the point of the matter is that this threw, you know, gasoline on the fire, so to speak, which is why you started seeing a lot more offers talking about the situation, because first off, they call drawings basically exploitative. They censor an offer's work and call it noise. Then you have the CEO of this interview basically double down and pretty much say the very thing to basically say what we all were thought. For instance, wanting to censor things or things shouldn't belong in certain anime because it's icky or uncomfortable content. But the one thing to really add on to this is that then they try to add in political stuff to this situation. They try to make it political to where, like, all male otaku within Japan are anti-political correctness, basically straight up saying in speak Republicans or conservatives, right-leaning, whatever type of, way you want to say it, and pretty much saying that everybody that's against this article right now is from this certain political group. It's clear as day what's going on here, and it's actually shocking to see some of the things we've seen in the West taking place in Japan. But I'm very happy that a lot of Japanese residents and citizens and fans and directors, animators and stuff are not happy with this at all. I do think that in general, what is probably going to happen here is that this guy, 100% not a good look, might even get replaced as CEO, I don't know. But if there is one thing I am definitely 100% certain on, is that the screenwriter that censored Bocchi because they didn't want Bocchi to have Bocchis, for instance, and she wanted to make it for her kid to watch it, but
most likely case, that person's gonna get into severe legal, because Japan, the way that court proceedings and sentences are handled in Japan, he's gonna spend a long time in prison if he doesn't either one step down, or two, he ends up making things worse. All right. Here. Or make this dress as pretty as possible. Okay, around the same length. Is it? Oh no, no. Keeping the prettiness and the neatness of the hair. Dress. Okay, we're gonna need a bit so the hair actually will probably like this. Okay. Yep. All right. Okay. Dress. All right. All right.
it was their own ideology being forced into the actual series, kind of disregarding the original wish of the author, which I'll get into that in a second. I'll talk about the author because that's actually very important. But I don't think the screenwriter's ever going to get another job again, or not going to get many good ones, because it's too public. It's become way too public. Too many people, big names, have already commented on this, and when you have big names like that doing that, it's career suicide. It's over. It's GG, it's over, it's done. So I think that in general, this was the biggest damage that this individual could do. They went mask off and they thought that they could get away with it, and clearly that is not the case. Now, we need to talk about the offer for a second, because I think this is very important to actually discuss, because there is post from the 𝙂𝙚 𝘖𝙗 offer commenting years ago that she was happy with the anime. Now, I want to make sure this is fundamentally clear. Up to this point, from my knowledge, to what has happened these last few days, the offer of 𝙂𝙚 𝘖𝙗 has not made an official statement about what's going on. However, I do want to point out that there is a thing, especially I believe with anime creation and, manga getting turned into anime or light novels getting turned into anime, a lot of these offers and creators, they typically are very polite. They're not rude, they will accept what's coming to them, like for instance if something changed, because they're just happy to see it animated. But deep down there might be some things they're upset with because maybe their original work isn't entirely what they wanted to be animated. In this case, all the statements that the 𝙂𝙚 𝘖𝙗 offer said was that she was happy about the anime production. I don't want to disregard what the offer said years ago. However, that could just be the publicity. It could be the public statement. Because obviously being outright against something could be, as I already said a few moments ago, career suicide. It could cause the offer never to be able to work in the industry again, could shun the offer from being able to ever make more manga or something. She could be blacklisted, so to speak. Which, that's another thing. The offer as well is female. I don't know how many people actually are aware of that, but 𝙂𝙚 𝘖𝙗's offer is a female offer. And the fact that her content got censored because it's exploited of women is pretty freaking rude. I'm just gonna say it. So this right here, as you can see on screen, this is also a part of an interview with the screenwriter for 𝙂𝙚 𝘖𝙗, the anime screenwriter. And this is some content that's probably going to get me a little bit in trouble, because people are not going to like what I have to say, but it's my personal opinion. Feel free to disagree with me. But basically, as I've already outlined, the screenwriter of 𝙂𝙚 𝘖𝙗 went out of their way to censor the content, call everything noise, exploited, and all that, just for her son could be able to watch the show. She censored all this, taking advantage and putting her ideology into the work. And this is an interview with that same screenwriter and talking about their son. My son is 4 years old, and although I have raised him in a rather genderless way from the age of 2, he began to be interested in Ultraman and the monsters. He even says things like, men must keep their promises. I answer him, that has nothing to do with being a man, but I feel that there are many things that I must teach him. Now, a lot of people are trying to downplay this, act like what it isn't, but I'm going to do a hot take here. And like I said, this is going to cause probably a lot of people to be upset. I don't think it's okay to teach your 2-year-old, because once again, age of 2, says right there, your 2-year-old that can barely form sentences, can barely speak, okay? Just really getting to have, function and understand that they're alive, because it's like, at that age, you're becoming aware that you're actually alive and like you're adapting to your world, so to speak. And the first thing you teach your son that's 2, being genderless, I think that's weird. I think that's very weird. I'm gonna say it. I think that's very weird. And what's even weirder is that she rebuttals him when he says men keep their promises. And a lot of people are trying to spin this that she doesn't want him to be toxic or have toxic masculinity. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how is learning a lesson of him just wanting to keep promises, men keep promises, a bad thing? And there's actually examples within localization of localizers censoring this very thing. Let me show you. So this is a post right here of localization of certain games and stuff. And you could see when in the Japanese where it says it's a man's promise, it's changed to be I promise I'll come home alive. And you can see it happens multiple times in many different games. Even Dragon Ball, for instance, this happens too. You have it happen into more games here, and then you have it happen into this game. It's very obvious.
And there's been some from I think one of the games that I used to play. There's something art RPG, a Japanese RPG game that was on the 3DS it didn't. So the original release is Japanese only. There's fan translations of many. It's fan translated into many languages, basically. And those fan translations, has more has been getting more respect than Crunchyroll. Just food for thought.
That for a very long time, a lot of localizers have translated Japanese the statement of "a man keeps their promise" or something like that. And it's when you tie all these things together with what's within the interview with a clear activism, like a feminist activist, it starts to look very sus. Which gets into why I talked about her teaching her son at 2 genderless stuff is it's kind of weird. It's weird, okay? Full stop, okay? The kid can barely speak. He's just learning and all that. That's just rebuttaling him for wanting to keep promises and all that is just weird because the kid doesn't like fully even understand like life or death or anything like that or anything at all, really. So it's weird. I'll leave it at that though. Obviously, feel free to disagree on some points, but yeah, that's what's going on. Japan is not happy. I think that the screenwriter is probably not going to get a job. There's too many Japanese directors and stuff upset. Yeah, it's over. Which, honestly, if you want to hear my opinion, my personal opinion, good. Good. I'm glad.
Not only this will result in a massive lawsuit in Japan, which lawsuit in Japan is basically the same thing as being criminally convicted of something. E is going to go penniless and then be further punished for not being able to pay up. Okay. How to go about this? Okay, let's do V-neck, basically. Make this a V-neck. Maybe do this. Go, okay, there we go. Chris. Chris. Alright, there we go. Hello. Hey. Hi, Kevin. Sorry, I was distracted by my drawing. Hi, Kevin. How are you? Hi. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't notice you. I didn't notice you message. So sorry. So sorry. How? Oh, okay. I'm. No. Anywho. Drawing was originally supposed to be just a generic challenge, but it quickly inspired. I found this. So it's inspired by that. It kind of looks like an Omnitrix emblem, and then it spawned into what if Ben 10 was a gender swap witch? There you go. And what I call this version of Omnitrix, I call it the Witch Tricks. Because instead of having on pretty much the same thing as an Omnitrix, but with basically anodite fusions. Yeah, let's go with that. Anodite fusions. Alright. Okay. Let's continue. I'm gonna look up another video. Another video! Another video! Try to find something.
𝙂𝙗 cave tragedy. Sergei Kozyev, a 37-year
There we go. Hi, Kevin. I'm so sorry I didn't notice. Okay. I'm so sorry I didn't notice your message. I am so sorry. Hello. Just, it's nothing personal. It's nothing. I promise. It's nothing personal. It's just I get so engrossed in drawing. It's just everything else just becomes blur. My bad. My bad. My bad. Anyhow.
𝙂𝙗 cave tragedy. Sergei Kozyev, a 37-year-old father and thrill seeker from Sochi, Russia, had spent nearly a year obsessing over the 𝙂𝙗 cave, the deepest cave on Earth at over 1.3 miles deep. Despite having only caved twice before, Sergei became captivated by the challenge and mystery of this vast subterranean labyrinth. The cave, with its overwhelming depth and near impossible complexity, seemed like an ultimate test for anyone daring enough to face it. To Sergei, it wasn't just a geological marvel. It was something more, a pilgrimage. The 𝙂𝙗 cave is a place of staggering difficulty, notorious for its dangerous and complex features. At its base lies a horizontal system that stretches half a mile, filled with razor-thin ledges, rope drops, and narrow, water-filled sumps. The cave demands extraordinary skill and meticulous planning to navigate. Professional cavers from the Russian Perovo Speleo team, among the most seasoned in the world, had taken days to descend and ascend it safely. They moved in teams, with a relay system to transport hundreds of pounds of gear and food. Every step was calculated, every possible hazard accounted for. Sergei had heard of the dangers the cave posed, including a near-fatal flash flood that occurred in 2018 during a joint expedition with National Geographic photographer Robbie Schoen. While deep underground, the team was suddenly struck by the sound of a distant rumble, which soon turned into the deafening roar of a freight train. The flood surged through the cave, forcing the team to abandon their camp and scramble for higher ground. The water turned a vertical shaft into a waterfall, battering them with freezing spray and nearly drowning them in its ferocity. The team barely escaped with their lives, but the entire lower camp was submerged, leaving behind only a chilling reminder of nature's power. For Sergei, this near disaster didn't act as a deterrent. It ignited something inside him. He studied the photographs from the expedition, pored over maps, and read every available report. The cave wasn't a place to fear. It was an ultimate challenge, one that demanded his presence. Sergei became determined to face the 𝙂𝙗 cave on his own terms. On November 1st, 2020, Sergei set off for the Caucasus Mountains, planning to embark on a solo expedition to the cave. He told his wife and children that he was leaving for a personal journey to search for the meaning of life. He didn't mention his real destination. He didn't even tell them he was heading to 𝙂𝙗. The cave, he believed, was his to conquer, and he intended to do so alone. His family would be none the wiser. The journey to the cave was already an incredible challenge. Sergei hiked several kilometers up the forested mountainside to reach the cave's entrance. The terrain was treacherous, slick with moisture, and he navigated it carefully with new crampons and trekking poles. At the gaping entrance of 𝙂𝙗, he stopped to gather himself. There was no official permit for his entry, no radio to call for help, and no team to support him. He was entirely alone, armed only with a rope and a plan he'd drawn from YouTube videos and online forums. Yet, with unwavering determination, he clipped into his rope and began his descent. The first vertical drop was immense, plunging him into an eerie, suffocating silence. Sergei rappelled down into the darkness, his headlamp casting ghostly shadows on the cave's jagged walls. He lowered his gear in waterproof bags, inching further into the Earth's depths. That night, Sergei camped over 1,000 feet underground. He settled in a base camp previously used by the Perovo team, eating a simple meal, logging his location in the journal, and preparing for the next day.
Alright, here. Alright. Alright, chat. It's about time for me to go to bed, and I'm pretty happy with the progress we made. I'm very happy about that. And at this point, I may no longer need the reference. I may no longer need a reference and just have at it. Just have at it with the creativity. Anywho, I'm just gonna. Ooh. Okay, I thought I missed something. I think I did miss something. Hold on. Yeah, I did miss something. Go. Did I not? Yeah, I did miss something. Hold on. There we go. Alright. I think with that, I'd probably do Grease. I think if I would Grease here. An artist gets distracted by their own details. Exactly. Exactly. That's how it would be. That's how it would be. Alright. There we go. I need to stop being distracted right now. Alright. Well, chat, let's see here. Okay. Alright. Chat, I'm gonna have to end off today's stream here. I'm pretty happy with the progress we made. I didn't expect to inadvertently make another Ben 10 AU. I'm not sure what the lore is gonna be. Oh my fucking god. I'm probably gonna need help from the Ben 10 community to help me make lore. Cause I'm not prepared for this. Oh my god. I am not prepared for this. Holy shit. If whenever I end up posting, finishing up this piece, holy shit. Oh, the shit's about to go down. Shit's about to go down. Anywho, I want to say, thank you everyone for joining today's stream. My name is Brain Blitz. I'm a variety streamer. I stream a lot of video games, chat suggest me, as well as draw art, as you can see here. And I do programming as well. And soon I'll be starting to learn. I'll start learning 3D modeling too. That being said, I hope y'all had a fabulous day, evening, on your time zone. I hope y'all are relaxing. Hope make sure y'all eat. Okay, make sure y'all hydrate, and make sure you stay under the stress, and make sure you actually use the bathroom, because I know you haven't used the bathroom for over 6 hours. That being said, I gotta get going. I'm a Blitz Eats. Alright? Mwah, mwah. Bye bye, Matane.